Hey, everybody.
Hey, guys.
Welcome to another episode of Last Thursday. How you doing, bub?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Happy to hear it.
Yeah.
I think we're all doing better these days, given the good weather and all that kind of stuff.
I think so. The sun definitely is giving me some supercharges.
You look supercharged,
Thanks.
I will say.
Yeah, the sun feels like it's supercharging me in a certain way.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think it does that to all of us.
I think so, too.
Same thing with our cat, too.
Oh, yeah. He totally, feels it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's in love right now.
He is.
With the sun.
He's worshiping the sun, and the sun is worshiping him, as we like to say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, we're gonna roll through some of these opening credits here. So, as always, thank you to all the people who are signing up for my Patreon page. It's super appreciated. I feel like I can't say it enough because it really is a lot. And yeah, Flat Earth Hippie is saying we can't see you. It's because, yeah, we're behind stage right now. We're just doing our opening. We're trying, we're always trying new things here on Last Thursday. And so we're kind of doing like a new intro where we have slides first. And then we'll bring each other up on the screen. So, yeah, we're just going to do that. But, yeah, as I was saying, patreon.com, just very appreciated. All the support, all the people coming through and joining us over there. So you can do that, patreon.com/thehealinghome if you're interested. Up here on the screen, these are all the patrons that I have right now on the Healing Home. Super great to be hanging out with y'all over on Patreon. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody. Chance, Binna, Inland Sea, Liam, Amy Messner, Miri and Hank, Jenny G, Erica Rodriguez, Moonlander, Mary, Catherine Strofeld, Logan Cook, and Lily Vine. And Logan and Lily Vine are my newest Patreons, so thank you so much for coming on over. As always, michelleshealinghome@gmail.com. If you want any, if you are looking to place an order with me, if you'd like to schedule a consultation, or if you have any questions for me, email is the best way to do that. Especially for orders, because I don't have a direct store, as a lot of you guys know. So yeah, just email me, michelleshealinghome.com for any other inquiries. You can also text or call me at 503-568-1569. And, Mario and I had a really great episode on Tuesday, this past Tuesday on the Healing Home, The Grace of Venus, we called it. And we both had a really nice time discussing Venus from our perspectives. Also, revelations that have come to us recently over the years, whatever. We threw a lot of them in there. So it was a great stream.
I agree. It was a fun time.
Yeah, you did a really good job with especially all the things that you're just really coming across, especially with like the Kenneth Grant research. And
oh yeah, definitely.
It really brought another element to it. So if you haven't checked that one out yet, I highly recommend it if you're interested in that information at all.
I agree. So with all of that said, here we are. Hello, guys.
Here we are.
Happy Thursday. I hope everyone is well out there.
Yes.
Because I know we are.
Yeah, totally. There's a lot going on, We have been working on the garden, or I've been laying down wood chips.
Yes, you have.
Yeah, which has been really awesome. So, I just wanted to say this. I'm going to make a post about this on Instagram. But if you are in the market for wood chips, and if you live in the city or if you live outside the city, contact your local utility company, because the utility companies, they cut down trees all the time. They're always trimming trees around power lines and what have you. They will give you free wood chips, and they will give you a lot of them. All you have to do is ask. And so we had they were trimming lines around our property, and I went out and asked them if they would give us some wood chips, and he said, of course. And so they dropped off a load, and I've heard this before. There's a company out there called Chip Drop,
right?
Which is, I've done that before when we were living in Portland, because it's more for in the city areas, but like chip drop won't necessarily bring it out to like a rural area. But chip drop, you do it through like just online. But if you don't want to do anything online and you just want to, call somebody, you could just call your local utility company, and usually they have them.
Right. I know. It was a huge blessing because you asked, and then literally they were dropped off the next day.
Yeah, the next morning they dropped them off, and it's a big shipment, which we needed because we have a lot of ground to cover.
Right.
So it's awesome. I've been working that, and it feels so good to do that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I like seeing you with the gorilla cart and the wheelbarrow.
Nice. I like being with them too.
Yeah, I could tell.
Yeah.
You're in your element.
I am. So it's been fun. It's
Totally.
been very good.
Totally. So, what do we have to drink tonight?
Tonight we have some iced chai.
That sounds awesome and perfect right now.
It does actually. I'm looking forward to this one actually.
Cheers.
Cheers.
It tastes like iced chai.
It does. It's so good. I have to shout out Blue Lotus Chai, which is out of Eugene, Oregon. This is some of the best chai ever. And it's like instant in the sense that they use powdered black tea and then powdered spices. And so you can literally just, add it to cold or hot water, which is cool. And you can just, there you go. You got chai.
Ever since we found out about it, we've been pretty loyal to them, I would say.
Yeah, we have. I mean, we have it around pretty much all the time because it's delicious, and then we love chai, and
it's convenient.
It's convenient.
It's spicy a little bit.
It is. It's on the spicier side, and you can make it as spicy or as strong as you want because it comes with like a little scoop and whatever. It's really cool.
You can have it your way.
You can have it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's great, and I really love it. So shout out to those guys.
Totally. And then we actually have a new little segment to add here.
Yeah, we do.
And so we have 3 segments. At first we had like 1, and then we added another one, and then now we're adding a 3rd one.
Yes.
But it makes total sense.
Yes, it does.
So we'll get to that new segment towards the end of the show.
Yes, we will. Yeah, as I said in the beginning, we're always kind of we're trying things out here on Last Thursday. It's kind of like our place where we can be a little more flexible or creative.
Yeah, more casual too.
Yeah, and so if we're feeling like we need to change something up or add something or take something away for that matter, we kind of are...
Please don't take me away.
Okay.
I like it here.
Okay, good.
It's cozy.
It is.
So that's not part of your future plans, right?
No. I meant segments.
Oh, gotcha. Okay,
yeah, not
cool.
you.
Oh, right on. Nice. Well, let's see who's hanging out with us right now.
Yeah.
And say hello. So, Flat Earth Hippie, dude, Flat Earth Hippie, you're like usually the first comment, I think. So you deserve some sort of award or a
a badge.
Is it a sash?
Oh yeah, a sash.
Maybe a sash or something like that. That would be kind of cool. Maybe we'll get that going at some point. What's up, George? Nice to see you, man. Hopefully you're still hanging out with us.
Howdy.
I did an interview with George like a week and a half ago, and that dropped on his page. So Third Eye Edify, if you guys are interested in that, check that out. And then actually you're going to be interviewing his wife here pretty soon, right?
I am, yeah. And actually we are kind of going back and forth with dates. I have to check my Telegram messages. But yeah, she is open to it. She's down. And so we'll hash out a date here soon and probably be sometime in June, I'm thinking.
And you guys will be talking about?
Her work as a midwife and a doula. It sounds like she also... the title on, cause she had a couple titles on Georgia's show,
right.
A witch, a mermaid. So I saw too on Telegram that she refers to herself as a birth witch, which I thought was really interesting, and I can get down with that. So yeah, really looking forward to talking with her, and it'll be very fitting for the Healing Home.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. So what's up, dude? And then Michelle is here. Hello.
Howdy.
Kabir is here.
What's up, Kabir?
Nice to see you, man. And then Elsie King is here. Howdy ho. And then Sarah G is here.
Sarah.
Woo! Michelle's asking, is it smoky by us at all?
No, it's not, luckily.
Yeah, I haven't noticed anything.
No, luckily. It's
right.
not.
Where is Michelle located, do you know?
I'm not sure. Yeah, let us know. Is it smoky by you?
Unfortunately, it's becoming that season.
It is.
Here on the
and
West Coast, at
it's
least.
pretty much a guarantee for at least some segment of the summer
Right.
that it will be smoky.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I feel like it's part of like the the forecast or something nowadays. It's
Right.
kind of strange, but
Totally.
that's how it goes.
And Binnaby is here. Binnaboo. Hello.
Thank you, Binna.
Yeah.
I've been in the sun a lot. You know, it's going to start. You guys are going to notice it's going to start to change color. That's
Totally.
what happened. It lightens up a lot.
Yeah, and I just have to give a shout out to Binna for being so supportive too.
Yes.
And ordering a print and other things on Etsy. And I'm just like, wow, that's awesome. So it'll be on its way tomorrow.
Yeah, we're going to put it in the mail tomorrow.
Yeah, and so anyway, that's just really cool.
It is cool.
I'm curious to see how long that's going to take. Hopefully it doesn't take too long.
Yeah, hopefully. I think we'll be able to get it to you by your birthday. That's the hope.
Okay, yeah. So she's saying the whole state here in Montana. Man, sorry to hear that.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not surprised though, and it's a controversial topic, obviously, for a few different reasons. But yeah, there's more that could be said. Perhaps this isn't the place, but yeah, I wish you guys the best of luck with everything.
Oh, and Sarah G said smoky too. And if I remember right, you're in Wisconsin, right? So that's
Right.
kind of crazy that it's making its way all the way over there too.
Gotcha. Wow. And we'll be there, Wisconsin, later this month. You will, and I'll be there on the 1st.
Yeah, definitely. I'm taking off, going home for my brother's wedding, and Mario's going to meet me there a little bit further down the road. But yeah, I'm taking off actually next Saturday already. Whoa. It's definitely come around the corner super fast, as I knew it would. But
Right.
I'll say I'm quite excited to go home for this trip, for sure. One reason being my brother's getting married, but I actually haven't been back to visit in at least a couple of years, maybe 2 or 3. So
Right.
it'll be fun.
It's been a minute. Mm-hmm. Totally. Going to meet up with some friends while we're there.
Yep.
So that's really cool, too.
Yeah, I'll probably get to see Kyle
Yeah.
and Serena and their little one. So that'll be super nice.
For sure. Hinterlanders is here. Howdy.
Howdy.
Thanks for hanging. Yeah. No, absolutely, Michelle. No, but we'll keep you guys in the loop. I'm sure once it starts getting smoky, we'll be talking about that because it's really hard to avoid.
It is.
I mean, obviously, when it's smoky out, it affects absolutely everything.
Yeah, it does.
So,
and man, I'll say that it really does a number on just everything, like headache and fucking nausea and everything. I mean, it's not good. So,
no.
yeah.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
So, as usual, we've got 2 segments today. You've got something you want to talk about. I've got something I want to talk about. And we will roll the dice to see who talks first.
Yes.
As per usual.
Yes. Do you mind if I use the restroom first?
No, go for it.
Okay.
Do your thing.
Yeah. If you want to hold it down for a second.
I will hold it down for sure. So last time what we did was we asked if people had any guesses on who was going to roll what. And sure enough, Flat Earth Hippie called it. He said Mario is going to get it with a 5, and that's exactly what I got. So let's see what you guys think. Is Michelle going to roll a higher number than myself? Am I going to roll a higher number? Who's going first? I've been on a little streak here. I think it's been maybe 3 or 4 episodes in a row where I've gone first. So I am curious. Am I going to break that streak? Is it going to continue? All that fun stuff, but we shall see. And okay, Flat Earth Hippie says, I like the confidence. Michelle with a 4. I like it. So I can go here real quick and see what's good. Big money. I got a 4.
Oh, nice.
But we'll see what Michelle gets.
Nice. Okay.
No pressure. No big deal,
Yeah,
you know.
none at all.
Oh, you got a 6. Nice.
I got a 6. Nice. All right.
Cool. So
Yeah.
you're going first, baby.
I am going first. All right. Well, Hank came through with the number, though. That's pretty cool.
At least he got the number.
Yeah. That's pretty good. Alrighty. And, there's some lawn equipment going on. So if that's annoying, if you guys can pick it up, I'm sure it's not that big of a deal, but let us know. And if it's annoying or something,
can close the
we can
window.
always close the window. So, all right. Well, for this week, I thought about this topic earlier, and then when we were discussing the show for this evening, it kind of like was solidified. So, I'm going to talk about oils. My favorite oils to use for herbal infusions, like oil infusions, and then also just in general, how just to do a quick run through of how to make herbal oils using fresh plant matter and dried plant matter and the differences there. And the reason I want to do this is because I had a few questions about oils on my Telegram channel. I think it was last week or the week before. People not being sure like what oils are the best, which ones they can use, whatever. They just had general questions. And so this is a question that I've gotten before. And I've talked about this before too, but I love oils.
You really do. And actually, I'll just say your skin has like transformed over the years.
Thank you. Yeah.
Because
You're
of,
right.
in part, your creams and oils.
It's true.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I've noticed a huge difference.
Yeah.
And you do. The oils are your thing.
They are. They're my thing. And I think, and thank you for saying that because I too have noticed that. And I will say, admittedly, I care more about it too, about my skin.
Right.
I feel like, there was a long time there where I didn't care as much. Like I wasn't as concerned or it just wasn't a top priority. But now as I've gotten older too, over the last at least 8 years or so, it's been like a really main focus of mine, I'd say.
Yeah.
But yeah, oils in general, they're so wonderful because they're so versatile and they can be used for cooking. They can be used for oil pulling. They can be used to make cosmetics. They can be used to make lots of things. Oils can even be used to like remove cosmetics, I should say, not make them. I'm sure they use oils to make cosmetics, but that's not what I was meaning to say.
Okay.
But just like you can make lots of things with oils.
They're versatile.
Yeah, and you can use them just as they are too. You don't even have to do much to most oils,
And I will say, this came up, I believe, on Interverse at some point. But just the nature of oils I relate it to being very mercurial. And so oils, like with cooking, right, it's going to be between two things, between the pan and the food. Like it's kind of like it's a lubricant. So it's going to lube up and oil whatever two things need to be oiled, right? And so it's going to allow the friction to be smoother, right?
Yeah.
And so I just see a lot of mercurial symbolism with oils, and then also the fact, and fats, right? Oils and fats. And the fact that different temperatures will bring out a different quality in the oil.
Yes.
Or the fat as well. So there's kind of a mercurial shapeshifty thing with some of these oils, And so anyways, I just see Mercury in all of that because he is such a slithery, shape-shifting sort of archetypal energy that way. And so that's one of the things that I talked about at some point recently.
Yeah, and we were bringing it up even like our own bodily fluids
exactly.
or secretions or oils.
Our own oils.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we make them for a reason. And it's usually for protection or to do something like you were saying, like lubrication of something else. And so, so that's where I want to go. I had a thought, but it slipped away. So firstly, I just want to go over quickly my favorite oils, my go-to oils when I'm making things. And so I just did a quick list. So first on the list is olive oil. It is not only super easy to get, but, it's a universally used oil, very common, but can make really great infusions. It could also just be used as it is. I mean, it's kind of like one of the original beauty oils,
makes
really.
sense.
So olive oil's on my list, coconut, sunflower oil, almond oil, jojoba, grapeseed, and sometimes I use avocado. I don't use avocado as much as I use the other ones I listed, but those are my go-tos. And I find that they are my go-tos for different reasons for all of them. But one of the things I wanted to just put out there for people, and one of the things I've begun to do over the last couple years, is when you're not sure what type of oil to use and you're wanting to make an herbal oil infusion, it's good to actually check in with the plants and see what oil does that plant want you to use. And I find that there's certain plants that work better with certain oils. For example, I've really started, or I've noticed that olive oil and St. John's wort go really well together. And I've always noticed that. I've tried to make St. John's wort with other oils other than olive oil, and it comes out okay. But I've always found that fresh St. John's wort with olive oil, to me, has always made the best oil, best quality, best medicine. And I always do solar infusions with St. John's wort oil, because then you're just tapping more into that solar energy, and the heat of the sun is warming the oil in the plant. So you're getting like a natural warmth that's coming into it. So those are like my top ones. And I find too that you can actually pick your favorite oil to just work with. So like these are my favorite oils, but they're not going to be everybody's favorite. Some of these oils work better on some people and some maybe not.
Right. Okay, well, I was just going to say it should be their favorites. If they're good enough for you.
Then everybody just should adapt what mine are.
I swear, every single time oil comes up, like new revelations come to my mind. So I'm going to wait until you're done talking about all this stuff. But there's a few things I'm thinking about, just the power of oil.
Yeah.
And like it really, we could do a whole show symbolically breaking down oil and like what it's represented throughout the ages and how different religions have viewed oil. The various purposes of oil, like as fuel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For lanterns and things like that was one of the things we got into. Cars, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the fact too, the last thing I'll say before I let you proceed and get back to your thing. Soil. Isn't it interesting that soil literally it has oil right there in the name.
Interesting.
And so it's just an addition of the S. And so then also soil is an anagram for oils as well.
Right.
So just thinking out loud, there's a lot of extraordinarily deep stuff with oil.
Oh, well, you know what that makes me think of? Okay, so with the soil and the oil, so birds, particularly turkeys, they clean themselves with dirt.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They kind of like bathe in it, huh?
Yeah, they'll like roll around in dirt. And so, and that probably is for multiple reasons, but like dirt absorbs oil. So it can absorb, or like clay. Think of clay. Clay is clay. It's not dirt technically, but when you mix clay up or whatever, it becomes like it's mud basically. And that clay like really can absorb impurities and detox the skin, absorb extra oil.
Right.
So that's kind of interesting. And there's like chinchillas. There's lots of other animals that have that connection with dirt. And I know like it can actually help like with parasites or bugs that are on them, can kind of suffocate them. So that's another reason why they probably do it.
Right.
But just thinking out loud.
No, totally. There's a lot of different tangents you can go in with this topic.
Yeah. So oils, anyway, it's just interesting. There's a lot you can say. And so I'm not sure I don't know if we need to go through all the qualities of each of these oils. I just want to, for people who might not be sure what oils to try, this is typically where where I'm going with this one for that. I do have a blog on my website about specific oils, and I wrote that a couple years ago. So at this point, I'll probably should even update that because I have changed some of my opinions. But you can see that there if you want more details on like what vitamins are in there and minerals and all that kind of stuff.
Right on.
Because I feel like that's just too many details to go into on here and whatever
you feel called to talk about.
Cool. So, oils for nourishment and just like beauty oils. The first one that always comes to me is rosehip. It was one of the first oils that I kind of started to really work with just by itself, like just straight up applying rosehip seed oil to my face. Really was helpful because one of the qualities of it, it's funny, it can help reduce redness and like rosacea. So you have rose for rosacea.
Right.
and it really helps to kind of even skin tone out, and it's known as a dry oil, and what that means is it's an oil that it absorbs really really fast into your skin. So if you're a person that kind of gets self-conscious if you put an oil on and you might be shiny or something like that, rosehip actually really doesn't do that. I mean, obviously, if you put on a bunch of it, it will. But if you just put a modest amount on and let it absorb for a couple minutes, it's not going to look like an oil slick on your face, basically.
Right.
And rosehip is typically used in a lot of creams. And when I do make face cream, which I don't make it as often anymore, but rosehip is it's a big part of my face cream recipe.
Right.
Because of because of the beauty aspects of it, but also because it absorbs so quickly.
Just have to say too, another thing with all of these words and stuff, rose hip, and hips being very feminine.
Ah, yeah.
That's
a good one.
So just thinking out loud.
Yeah. And it's like it's the fruit. It's like the fruit of the plant, and there's so much nutrition in it. There's lots of vitamin C. That's the other reason why it's so good for your face. And so when a lot of times when you hear anti-wrinkle or whatever, anti-aging, a lot of times it has to do with vitamin C content. There's also other things that are added that could be anti-aging, quote quote, but the vitamin C is one of the biggest things about the rose hips.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So that's a really great one. Sometimes it can be pricey, but a little goes a long way. You can buy yourself a 2-ounce bottle if you're just going to use it for face oil, and it will last you a long time. Argan oil is another one that's really wonderful. Again, another more dry oil that can be applied straight to the face, specifically when you have super dry skin. Really great in the wintertime because it just hydrates the skin so well. And it does the same thing for hair. A lot of people know argan oil in hair care products. That's a really big thing that it's used for. Apricot kernel is another great one in the same vein, very light, very high in vitamin E. So just really, calming, soothing, cooling to the skin. And that's another one that I use a lot in my face cream too. And then, if you're wanting to have something that's nice and thick, or you're needing like super, super moisture or protection on your hands, maybe you get dried and cracked hands. Shea butter, raw shea butter is your best bet going with the raw, because it's going to raw and unfiltered if you even can find it, because then you're not losing any of the great benefits that come with shea butter. You can get the refined stuff if you're wanting it to have like no odor or something like that. But I really love the smell of shea butter even. And you can just apply that straight, or you can blend it into a body butter or put it into a cream. You can melt it down. I use it a lot in soap. And then cocoa butter is another great one too, in the same vein. And cocoa butter is a harder oil. So the melting point is higher than shea butter. So like if you are trying to make a cream or whatever, using cocoa butter in there is really nice, because it'll thicken it in a really nice way. And then in addition of like, some kind of wax too helps. And then if you're okay with animal fats, tallow. A lot of people know about tallow, but how healing it is to the skin. And it's very close to the same pH as our skin. So it can be really balancing in that way. So, tallow balms and all that kind of stuff is very popular. And then you can also cook with tallow, and there's a lot of things you can do with it.
Right.
You can preserve food in tallow,
Quick question about oils. Okay. Now, I don't know if you know the answer, if this is like a universal thing or what, but do all, like, generally, when you're talking about different oils from different plants, is it most of the time from the seed?
A lot of times, yeah. Most of the time, yes. It's from the seed or like a nut.
Right.
Or like, like avocado, it's going to come from, if I'm correct on this, I think it comes from like the pit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Or like the apricot kernel, it's like the...
So like olive oil, is it from the pit of the olive?
That I don't think so. I think it's actually from the fruit.
Okay.
And so like, same thing with like, I'm trying to think now, and maybe if somebody in the chat can confirm some of this stuff too.
Yeah, actually, that's another reason why I like the show is because it's so casual that
Right.
we can just ask questions, and I'm sure someone here knows.
Right.
And so.
Yeah, because like I like almond oil. Almond is coming from a literal almond.
Yeah, right.
They're pressing almonds.
Right.
So it depends on the oil, of course. But yeah, if I'm correct on that, I'm pretty sure it's literally pressed from the fruit, not the olive pit.
Gotcha.
But I could be wrong.
Right,
on
right,
that
right.
one, but I'm pretty sure it's the fruit.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah, right. But I'm pretty sure that that's the case. And so, with all this stuff, I know I'm just kind of throwing oils at you guys or, whatever. But one of the things I really just wanted to talk about is fresh herb oils versus dried herb oils.
Okay.
And so the reason I want to talk about this is because plants are really starting to grow now. So coming up pretty soon already, there's a lot of herbs and plants in a lot of people's areas that they can start to make oils if they're wanting to. So fresh herb oils are wonderful. And they, I will say, are one of my favorite ways to harness the scent and the essence and the medicine of a plant within an oil. But there's a caveat because when you're using fresh plant material, it's more prone to go moldy when you're working with oil because, as we all know, oil and water don't mix. And so if you're using a fresh plant, there's water in it. There's liquid in it.
Right.
And so that liquid content can cause problems. And, when I first started making herbal oils and I would use fresh plants, I didn't know these little tricks of the trade like I do now. And I can remember making trying to make a calendula oil fresh. I was like, okay, just take the calendula, just put it in there with the oil, pour it over, let it sit, no big whoop. And that's not the case. I left it uncovered so that some of the moisture could maybe leave. But what ends up happening is like moisture will kind of like get trapped in there and mold starts to grow. And as soon as you see any sign of any kind of mold or funkiness or cloudiness or an off smell, you're best to just pitch the whole batch, which happens. It's better to err on the side of caution than think, oh, maybe something's off, and then use it, and then really something is off. You don't want to do that. So when you're working with fresh plant material, I learned this step from a woman named Cammie McBride, who she runs like a whole course on this. But in a nutshell, what you can do to avoid having your oil infusion turn moldy is taking a little bit, like a teaspoon to 2 teaspoons of 100 proof vodka or another high proof alcohol and putting that into the jar with the fresh herb and mixing that around, making sure that it's coated. You can let it evaporate for a little while, whatever you feel is fit, but that's not 100% necessary. And then you add the oil. And then you can cover that with it with a lid. Like you can make it airtight. And so, as I've said before, using a piece of wax paper, parchment paper, or plastic wrap over the jar, then putting your lid on, then labeling it, and keeping it either in a cool, dark place, or you can go and do the solar method where you would put it in like a sunny window. You can do that too. But the one thing I'll caution you with using fresh herbs in the sun is that it can sometimes make moisture like come out. Like the moisture wants to evaporate once it starts heating up. So sometimes you're better off if you're doing the fresh plant to keep it just somewhere in a cupboard or whatever, out of the light, and checking on it, shaking it as much as you see fit. And that's usually a 4 to 6 week infusion that I do. You can even go less if you want to, but the alcohol in there will not only prevent mold and any weirdness, but it seriously brings out the scent and the other qualities of the plant so much more. And I've noticed that with I'll make fresh lavender oil when lavender's in season. And I've been blown away at how much scent from the lavender is imparted in the oil when you do the method with the alcohol and fresh flowers. It's like you smell it and it smells like straight up fresh lavender, and it's really nice. And so I've done that with chamomile too, and chamomile is the same way. So if you're wanting to work with a very fragrant herb, when it's in season, that's a really good way to do the oil. Mugwort is another one, and mugwort likes to work with almond oil for some reason, in my experience. So almond oil and mugwort can make a really nice oil infusion. So it's all kind of about experimentation. But then, using a dried herb is really great too, because, you're going to lose some of the essential oils when it's dried. That's just like natural. When it dries, it can off some of the essential oils. But some herbs do better when they're dried to make an oil with. And as I spoke of before, calendula as a fresh oil, there is so much moisture in calendula that even if you were to put the alcohol in it, it might not work out so well. So a good thing to do with calendula is to do it with dried calendula. And you can take your oil and your calendula, add it to a jar, or you can add it to a blender and you can blend it up. And you can then put it into a jar, put that onto a sunny windowsill, and that will make a really good, nice calendula oil. So you can always powder dried herbs. That's the advantage of that. And when you powder an herb, you are breaking up the cellular structure of it. So you're kind of opening it up. You're making a lot of the plant more bioavailable to you. So that's one of the advantages of using dried herbs versus fresh herbs. But you can also grind up fresh herbs and stuff too. But that's more for tinctures than it would be for oils. So anyway, not to get too confusing. And hopefully this isn't confusing to people.
I don't think so. Okay. And I think people appreciate it. And I think this is one of your strong suits.
Yeah, totally.
Is that you know about this stuff.
Right. So, and that's why that's why I wanted to share it. Because it's like these little tips that I've learned over the years have taken me a long time to learn.
Right.
Some of the things I've learned within the last maybe like 6 years, I'm like, oh man, if I would have learned that when I was just starting. And that's everything in life. I mean, how many times do you have something and you're like, damn, if I only knew that when I was 20 or whatever.
Right.
But that's the oil rabbit hole for me is very much like that. When I start talking about it and when people ask me questions about it, I just realize, all these little things that I've picked up.
Yeah, you should lean into it. And it makes sense, too, because you're so earthy that you like to talk about things that are tangible.
That's true. Yeah.
I like it.
Thank you.
Actually, I love it.
Thank you. One thing I have written in my notes here is so there's also a heat versus no heat method to making oils.
Okay.
So I kind of talked about this with the solar infusions. But what heat does is heat breaks down oil. So we know that when we cook, you use an oil, you want to match your oil to the heat and index that you're working with.
Sure.
So are you frying something? Are you going to deep fry something? Well, you're going to want an oil that can take high heat temperatures, because if you don't, the oils break down. And I know that certain oils, once they're heated and they break down, they can actually kind of become more harmful than good. And so that's the other thing when you're trying to match an oil. You want to just really pay attention to what are your needs with the oil. What are you trying to work with? Are you making a culinary oil? You can make herbal culinary oils. It doesn't always have to be something that you're going to apply topically, even though there's plenty of culinary herbs that can be applied topically, so it's
right.
like, it's whatever whatever you're choosing to work with. But, so I will say if you're using a heat method, which I still use heat methods, particularly with cannabis, that's usually the one where I use heat slow and low, baby. That is the motto. That's the key. Lowest heat possible for oils. And it's funny though, because there's like all these different things about it. So when I'm using a crock pot, not all crock pots are created equal. So sometimes the low setting is way too high.
Right, true.
I've done that before.
Yep.
Mario's seen the results of that. It's like, it's not good. The oil burns, and so does the plant matter. And then you literally have to just like, okay, I got to botch this one. That was my bad. So I learned that lesson, that low settings on crock pots sometimes aren't
Not
the best.
all created equal.
But you might have a crock pot that on low, it stays at a fairly okay temperature, whatever. But I always go for, if there's a warm setting, just use the warm setting. And that's what I always do with that. You can also do it in an oven. And again, lowest heat available on your oven. It's usually around 170. I don't know, maybe newer ovens go lower than that. But if you have like a pretty much typical conventional oven, it's probably 170 is probably your lowest temp. And so you can do infused oils in an oven. You can also do them in a double boiler. That's another very easy method that most people have access to, either making their own makeshift double boiler or an actual double boiler.
You want to explain what a double boiler is for people?
Yeah, totally. For those who don't know, so double boiler is basically two pots, or a pot and a bowl, or a pot and a glass measuring cup. Glass is very crucial here, no plastic. So basically you're taking a vessel below, filling it with about, I don't know, maybe a couple inches of water. And then you are placing another vessel on top, which is where you are putting your oil, or whatever you're melting. You melt chocolate this way or what have you. And the key and the cool thing about this is that, your oil is safe from getting water in it. You don't want oil you don't want water in your oil. And that's why people use this method for chocolate melting too, because the same thing, if water gets in your chocolate, it typically will like seize up. It will get like, it gets all weird, and it won't melt anymore. And it's a whole thing. If you're into chocolate and you know this, you just know. It's like, you just don't want water and melted chocolate to get together. It won't work out. So that's a double boiler. So it's very simple. Like I said, you can get yourself a pot, a wide pot, and you can get those like glass Pyrex bowls, the lower ones,
Yeah.
the wide ones. Those work really great as a double boiler. Go to Goodwill, go to a thrift shop. You'll be able to find all this stuff very cheap if you don't have it, And so anyway, you can also check out my YouTube. I've got a couple like videos where I use a double boiler.
I'm resisting the urge to talk shit on Goodwill.
Oh, we could talk shit on Goodwill though. Maybe we should. I'm down.
One
to
of
talk
these
shit.
days, you know. But anyway, I know exactly what you're saying. You could still find deals there.
You can, but they're crooked as hell, and we've had many conversations about Goodwill.
Right? Yeah.
But we go to Goodwill still, so you gotta whatever. Speak kindly, I guess, kindly enough to know that we still utilize their service, but they're like totally robbing people and then turning around and selling goods.
And they're like the only game in town for most cities.
Totally.
So.
And they're literally just getting shit handed to them.
Right.
Like, oh my God, just so much. And everybody knows who goes to Goodwill now. Their prices have just gone through the roof.
Right.
And okay, this is a segue. One story.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Okay, so this was probably, it had to be almost 10 years ago, maybe 8 years ago. I was living in an apartment, and I was walking home one night from work, and on the corner of like my apartment buildings here, and then there's like kitty corner from my apartment, there was a Goodwill like donation pickup spot. It was like a tiny place, but you could donate there, but there was no person that worked there. It was just like a donating like station.
Yeah.
And then somebody would come with a Goodwill truck and pick everything up like however many times a month or something.
Right.
And so, this was in our time where we were really starting to learn a bunch of stuff, like how crooked the world is and all this stuff. So
Yeah.
I was more in my spicy mode of like, just, do you know how fucked up this is? Like to like almost random people.
Wanting to tell people
Wanting
everything.
to tell people how messed up things were, and just more rah-rah. shish goomba or whatever you want to say. And so anyway, there was a guy, he was collecting the clothes and whatever. And I asked him something like, I remember just specifically being like, do you know who owns Goodwill? And he just started like cracking up. And he goes, oh, he's like, well, it's basically privately owned by like a handful of brothers or a handful of like, it's like a couple families.
Yeah.
It's like one or two families that own it. And he said one of the families is from Wisconsin. And so then, of course, my light went off because I'm from Wisconsin. I was like, oh, really? What? Like, and I don't remember. He told me the names or whatever, but
It wasn't the Goodwills.
it wasn't the Goodwills, believe it or not.
Okay, huh.
And so anyway, so then like from then on, I remember even calling Mario that night or the next day or something, and be like, dude, like Goodwill's privately owned. And it's like these families are making all this money, you know, and who knows how it all works and how many companies are involved and whatever, but it's literally like owned by only a very small there's a very small amount of people that actually are at the very, very, very top, which is how a lot of things work, but it's
Right.
privately owned.
But people,
It's not like a public service like that, you know, whatever.
they to me, it's almost like they're riding on the coattails of trying to be like a PBS or something.
Yes.
Like they want people to believe that they are either like a nonprofit, which I don't know their actual status. They're not even a nonprofit, right?
I don't think so. I don't think they're a nonprofit. And if you're privately owned, can you even be a nonprofit?
Well, even a nonprofit, they still make money.
Oh, yeah.
That's the wild thing about all this stuff.
And that whole thing is
And that's a whole rabbit
a
hole
racket
too.
too.
Yeah, totally.
Not
it
all
is.
of them. It's not all bad, but
I would say probably the vast majority of them.
yeah.
are.
Anyway, so
So anyway, but they give the impression that they're like some sort of public service or that they are literally for the community. And we know what comes along with community guidelines and perspectives and shit like that too.
oh yeah.
You know, so they give this impression that they're something else than what they actually are.
Right.
you know?
And I guess that's the biggest sham of it all, really. In my one of the ones. And the one that always breaks my heart too is like we help disabled people. We give them jobs and all this
right.
stuff. And it's just like, even as a young kid, I used to get so like, you know, that sinking feeling in your stomach, like you feel you have like there's sympathy that comes. It used to make me like sad when I would pull into the Goodwill parking lot with my mom
And they would have the signs.
and say I have the signs and whatever. And it's like they're putting these people on blast, but it's like they're not really concerned about their well-being or
Right.
their whatever. They're literally taking advantage of them because they know that they can probably pay them like no money at all to work.
Sorry, what does this have to do with oil?
Dude,
Just
totally.
kidding, just
Well,
kidding.
yeah, I mean, yeah. Anyway, I had to say that, and it's just crazy. But again, we go there, so here we are.
To me, the thing I'll say is just the fact that however it happened, but man, pretty good business model they have there.
Don't you
hey,
think?
everybody everywhere, give us your shit.
Yep.
And use us like a trash can or a dumpster or
Basically.
whatever, so you don't have to figure out a way to get rid of your stuff, and then we'll just mark it up, you know, sometimes outrageously so, obviously. You know, we've seen some really like crazy examples of that, and then it's like, you know, it's all profit. And then the thing to me that I always trip out about is like, I can only imagine the freaking basically like legit treasures that have gone through the Goodwill that just gets siphoned off by whoever, you know what I mean? But they're just not gonna, if something's truly valuable, they do so much research now with all their stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but and I know some things kind of fall through the cracks or whatever, and you might find a really nice bag or something like that. But generally, like, you just know that there must be some sort of hierarchy with who can get what, and kind of like what's allowed through to the next phase and to the next phase, and then eventually some of that stuff ends up on the floor, you know. But I bet you they've made just like, I mean, people have probably donated like literally silver, gold.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
And
like
they don't know.
antiques that are worth like crazy amounts of money.
Yeah.
You know, all sorts of stuff that would just like, they could literally have just gone somewhere else and made thousands of dollars or whatever, you know, because somebody would
Right.
have paid for it. But Goodwill instead gets it because, again, we're just kind of using them as like a public sort of dumpster sort of thing.
Right. And it's like a catch-22 because how convenient is that? You know, you're moving. You know, we just donated stuff there, you know, not too long ago. So that's why I'm trying not to be like a hypocrite, or I'm trying to make it clear that we still utilize this business, but we can see what's happening. And so there's all these catch-22s in our lives of how society is set up.
Maybe we should do a Goodwill thing
I
at some
think we
point.
should, because I'm totally going off of
I
the
know,
oil.
me too.
Oh, we'll do it.
Well,
we'll do it.
I'm also thinking of literally all of the stuff over the years, especially when we lived in Portland and, back home too in California. It's like the things I purchased from Goodwill, used or did not use, and then ended up donating back to Goodwill. It's like the cycle of life continues with these things.
Yeah.
And so it's like they're making how many times have items gone through the Goodwill sort of thing?
Dude, that would be a funny
and so
video.
so they make money like 5 or 6 times on like the same shirt or something that nobody really wants.
That's so true. That'd be a funny, like, tracking. You track like an item or something somehow. I don't know how you would do it, but that'd be like the life of a Goodwill donated item or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, yeah, they were really bad with mask stuff too.
Oh, they were awful.
You couldn't try clothes on
For like dude, like 2 years or something.
a long time. And then last thing I'll say before I go back to the oil weave, all of their stuff has a smell because they probably spray it down with like
it's like Febreze or something.
It does. It has like a Febreze sort of smell.
And then it stays in there forever.
It does stay in there forever. And sometimes what we've noticed is you'll get stuff from Goodwill, you wash it, and then it makes the whole load of clothes smell like that Goodwill smell because we use laundry soap that has no smell.
Right.
It doesn't have any scent to it. So I know that when laundry comes out and it smells like something, it's like, oh, well, it's probably there's Goodwill spray all over
Goodwill juice all over it.
Yeah. So anyway, whatever. I don't know what it's going on there, but we'll have to do a weave on Goodwill.
All right, back to oils.
Back to oils. Well, my weave with oils is pretty much almost done. So we were talking about heat versus no heat. Literally, too, what it can come down to with the choice of how you do this is time. Do you need to make a salve for somebody quickly?
Ah, right.
You're going to want to use heat method because you can make a very nice infused oil in about 4 hours at the least amount. I would recommend going to 6. If you have 6 hours to make an oil, do it for 6 at a low heat, but you can do it for 4. Like I said, so if there was like that wouldn't necessarily be an emergency, but if you needed to make something fast, heat is the way to go.
So there's a movie called Good Will Hunting.
Yeah.
It's not about thrifting, is it?
No.
Are you sure?
I don't think so.
I'm just kidding. I
Oh
know.
my God. No, I'm like, it isn't?
No, yeah,
No, it's
yeah.
not.
Heat and time and stuff like that. Gotcha.
No,
Oh
it
no.
is
Yeah.
okay. You caught me off guard there. Okay. Yeah, so heat versus no heat. The one other thing I'll say, so if you're doing a solar infusion oil, I love solar infusion. I think it's really awesome because not only are you then like gently heating the oil, then you're going to like extract more of the plant matter out, but then you're getting the energy of the sun in there too. And so that was one of the first ways, the first oil I ever made was St. John's wort as a solar infusion with olive oil. And, I actually floated a little bit of vodka on top of it because I had read that can keep away mold. And that was even before I learned that method of adding it and then mixing it in with the plant. That was like a first thing. And like, I didn't even realize then years later when I relearned that, I was like, oh, yeah, I remember reading that. Like you literally just put like a cap full of vodka on the top, just float it on the top. And it shakes in and it doesn't even it doesn't make the oil weird or anything. But the solar infusion is such a great way and it really makes a really nice oil. So I recommend people doing that. And if you're doing a solar infusion with St. John's wort oil, my last thing to say about the St. John's wort, always use fresh plant material with St. John's wort. And the reason being is because once St. John's wort dries, its volatile oils dry up a lot. And so it's not that It's not that it's not effective when it's dry. It's just it's way less effective. And if you make St. John's wort oil with fresh plant material, the oil will turn red, scarlet red. I actually should have brought some. Maybe I'll get it. But if you make it with fresh St. John's wort and do a solar infusion, and you add a little bit of vodka to it, you will have the reddest St. John's wort oil that you've ever had.
Nice.
And it's glorious, and it smells amazing. It smells sweet. St. John's wort kind of has like almost like a maple syrup scent when it's fresh.
Oh yeah.
And it's almost like has like maple syrup, like berry-y kind of like a berry essence in there. And when you do it that way with the tiny bit of vodka, olive oil, solar infusion for like 6 weeks, dude, you'll never go back. It's seriously, it's glorious to watch it happen too, because it just gets redder and redder and redder and redder.
That was like one of the first sort of symbolic sort of revelations that we had was with St. John's wort. I think St. John's wort was like really pivotal in your sort of herbal trajectory, your herbal story, you know. And I remember when I picked a lot of St. John's wort that one day, July 4th, I remember.
Yep.
Because I know it has a correspondence with 4th of July. And then I had a big old bundle of St. John's wort, and I smelled it. And I was like, whoa, freaking maple syrup. It was really surprising. It was so potent and strong, you know. And then the whole thing, obviously, St. John being decapitated, and things like that. And so it's like the blood of St. John. We've talked about this stuff before.
Yeah, but it's always so awesome and relevant.
I think that's
it never gets old talking about these connections.
No, and then I think St. John's Day is maybe around the same time you're supposed to harvest St. John, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, if I remember right, St. John's Day is the 24th of June, and so it comes after the solstice. But, you know, St. John's wort is typically known as a summer solstice plant.
Right.
And so it was traditionally was harvested on the solstice and used like in solstice celebrations. So like it was even like thrown onto fires or things like that. Or that's when you would like make the medicine, but also like bring the St. John's wort into the home, you know, for protection and things like that. And so, yeah, there's a huge weave there. Indeed. And yeah, maybe one day we'll tell our 4th of July story.
That would be perfect. There's so much to talk about.
Because it was a big one, and we were with some good friends of ours, and actually my really good friend Cole, shout out to Cole, and his wife Sylvia. Cole I've known since I was in like 1st grade.
Yeah.
And him and his wife Sylvia came to visit. Our mutual friend of ours was having a wedding, and yeah, we took them out on 4th of July, and it was just, we had so many cool events happen. So maybe we'll tell that for a last Thursday at some point.
Totally. So it really opened us up to the whole herbal folklore side of things.
Yes,
I think
it did. It big time did, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Nice.
St. John's wort. Yeah, I mean, so I think I covered everything I wanted to talk about with the oils. And as I said, this is a crash course. So there's so many other details too that we could get into the nitty gritty. But here at Last Thursday, kind of like to just keep it like we're kind of like throwing things out.
Well, they know if they want more information, they can contact you.
Exactly. And that's the whole point too. And so, you know, if you want to do like a deep dive too with oils, a good way to, and you want to like work with me specifically, a good way to do it would be a consultation, just saying.
Yeah.
Because it's like, then we can really like focus on stuff, but I'm always happy to answer questions.
Yeah, totally.
And like I said, I have a short article on my blog about some of the oils I talked about today. But yeah, if you have questions about making herbal oils, just ask me. And I highly encourage you, if you've never made one and you want to make one this year, just go for it, because you'll love it. It's amazing.
This is the year, guys.
This is the year. This is the year you're going to do it.
Nice.
So yeah.
Hell yeah.
Anyway.
Let's say hi to some new people in the chat, because there's some cool folks in here, and then you can address maybe some of the comments.
Yeah, I think there's probably a lot of comments. So
yeah, totally. So I see that Family Fun Guy is here.
Woo!
What's up?
What's happening? Good to see you guys.
Which, dude, James has been relaying some interesting information.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and so I just want to give him a shout out that his awareness of symbolism is very solid and much appreciated.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, Amy's here, and then
Howdy.
Diana's here. Polymathing is here.
Woo!
Mercury
What's up,
Mel
Lou?
is here.
Hey, Mel.
Walking Water is here.
Ooh, nice. Oh, solar is all you use for your oils. That's awesome.
Very cool. DJ Vanity Green is here. Hello. PK got here at some point. What's up, dude?
Nice.
Was Erica here before?
Hey, Erica.
What's going on, Erica? And I think there's some new people here too. But yeah, let's cruise upward, and you can address some of these comments. So I think right around here. So olive oil. Okay, cool. So this is when you introduce the topic, I think.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So, yes. Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. That's a good one. Olive oil has SPF 12. Works for arthritic joints. Yeah, okay. So that's a great point. Thank you, Benna. Because there are oils out there that do have natural SPF, as she just said. Raspberry leaf oil is one of the higher ones, one of the higher SPFs. Coconut oil also has a pretty low SPF, but it will help. And on the SPF trip with St. John's wort, okay, so what I do now, you see my skin is quite fair. And as a kid, I was slathered with SPF 30 all day long, blah, blah, blah. But as I became an adult, and started learning how bad sunscreen is for you, I stopped using it, and I have not used actual sunscreen, like traditional sunscreen, and I can't even remember how long. I still get sunburned, but my skin does not burn the way it did when I was slathered with that stuff when I was a young kid. So olive oil infused with St. John's wort, fresh St. John's wort, makes a lovely sunscreen, natural sunscreen. Now it's not going to, totally block everything out, but what I do before I go outside, and I know I'm going to be out there a long time, I just straight up put my St. John's wort infused olive oil on my face and my arms and every place that's going to be exposed. So when you use St. John's wort topically, it can help mitigate getting sunburned. Taking St. John's wort internally can sometimes make certain people hypersensitive to the sun.
Wow.
And with cattle, so farmers a lot of times, they don't want St. John's wort around because it can actually make cattle and their livestock more susceptible to sunburn, and like it can really injure them like to the point where they can be killed.
Wow.
So you just have to just
And St. John's wort is I'm assuming at least partially, but is the main planetary correspondence for St. John's wort the sun?
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway,
that's really interesting.
There's a whole weave there. So you put it on topically, it will protect you. Sometimes if you're taking a lot of it internally, it can make you a little bit sensitive to the sun.
Right.
Hintlanders is saying they've been working with broccoli seed oil. So great for the hair. Very light. I like that. I love broccoli. I love broccoli so much. So I should check that out. I know there's so many oils out there. I only listed a very small amount. And so there's a lot of them. I know pumpkin seed oil is another one that people like too. All right. Sarah was just thinking about this today, wondering what oil that dandelion prefers. Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Ask and you shall receive. Ask her. I bet she'll tell you. Because that's what I did with mugwort. And she was like almond. And I'm like, okay. And I had almond oil, so I did it. And yeah, almond oil and mugwort has made the best infusions I've had so far of the mugwort.
Sarah G also mentioned up there oil backwards being Leo, potentially. Lio.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. I like that. Soil equals soul. That's a good one. I like that. All right. Cocoa butter. Yes. Cocoa butter and shea for stretch marks. Yeah, definitely. That is one. The cocoa butter specifically. And, I think anything, too, that's going to be really high in vitamin E will be good for that, too, for sure. Castor oil, it's nice and thick. That's a good one for stretch marks. But the shea butter and cocoa butter is really great together.
You think Goodwill, do they sell gift certificates and gift cards and stuff?
I don't know. They might. And Flat Earth Hippie is confirming olive meat is where the oil is extracted. Here in Corning, yes, the olive capital of the USA.
That's right. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, we should. I always am like, oh, we should stop at the olive pit. We haven't driven through there in a long time, but
right.
And Ben Balderson was saying that that's where he gets his olive oil from, and they make really, really nice olive oil.
Awesome. Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah. Let's see. Aw, shucks. Michelle should write a book. It'd be a bestseller. Thank you. One day I will. I know I will.
Yeah, I think you will.
Yeah, it's been in my bones for a long time. I've always felt that I would, even when I was younger. It was like a goal of mine. Goodwill sucks. Yes.
With 3 S's.
That's good. All right.
Kabir has a good question up there.
Does anything else need to decarbonate other than cannabis? That's a good question. To my knowledge, no. I don't think so. And now I'm having one thing come to my mind, and I don't remember, and it was a root of some kind. And I can't remember 100%, but to my knowledge, no. Nothing that I can confirm right now. And so the cannabis thing is all about you're decarbing because you're knocking off the carbon. So you're cutting out the carbon. You're activating. Then once you drop that carbon off, because THC, the original form before heat hits it is THC-A. And it's CBD-A. So when you're decarbing cannabis, you're literally knocking that A off. And by knocking that A off, this is just a way to think about it, knocking that A off, then you are activating it. So then the medicine is going to be available. Some people have different opinions about this. Some people don't decarb and they just use a heat method and they say that works great for them. Totally fine. I always decarb just in case, because sometimes, like we were talking about before, making sure to not apply too much heat to oil is pretty important. So if you're not applying enough heat, you might not fully decarb it through the heat. So anyway, I always just do it 250 for about 45 minutes or an hour. That's what I've used for a long time, and it works pretty well for me. So, but yeah, like I said, there's all sorts of opinions out there about that.
So what does it say? Goodwill right there is a 501c3 or not-for-profit organization, says Google. Gotcha.
Not for profit. Yeah, well, that's some loophole that they probably have, for sure. 501c3. Huh, okay.
So that's like the technical status.
Right, so that's how they get away with what they do, right?
I'm sure.
Yeah, it has to be.
Well, just like churches.
Yeah.
So churches are nonprofits, but they're all fucking little pyramid scheme sort of things, and they're leeching off the community and all that kind of stuff. So,
that's true.
And rest assured, there are nonprofit churches making bank.
Oh, yeah.
It's going in people's pockets.
Oh, it has to be. I mean, there has to be an incentive for them doing what they do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But good info. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good one. Thanks for looking it up. What is that smell? I don't know, but you could smell it. It's there. Next time, if you've never smelled it before, you've never noticed it, next time you buy something from Goodwill, just like pay attention.
Just get a deep whiff.
Yeah. Dee. All right. I think we're coming down here to the end. This is where we kind of started seeing the new stuff. Do you use an expensive olive oil? Depends on what I'm doing. If I'm making soap and stuff, typically I'll get organic, but I don't get like the top of the line just because you have to use so much. And, in order to do that, you'd be really, really making a very expensive bar of soap. Because when I've talked to Ben about this, or I heard Ben talk about this on his show, he was talking about like when you get really good olive oil, like he was saying something crazy, like it was like $100 or something for not maybe a gallon. Don't quote me on this, but he was talking about like when you're getting super, super high quality stuff, it's very expensive and you get what you pay for. Right. And so anyway, I have not spent that much on olive oil, I can say. But like I said, it depends on what I'm using it for. Like if I'm making a cream or something like that, then I will, go for a nicer olive oil or whatever. But I always do try and get organic, and I try and get unfiltered. And you can tell like by the color of it too, if it's because a lot of olive oils are mixed with like canola oil, or they'll cut it with something cheaper.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So if you're buying really like low quality stuff, chances are it's not pure olive oil. So
right.
Just if you can see the color, a lot of times good olive oil comes in an amber bottle though. So, and you can smell it. Like it should smell like olives when you open the jar, in the best of ways. So
what do you think about that recipe up there?
Where's this?
Right above.
Here?
Yeah.
I used to make sunscreen and I use raspberry oil, carrot seed oil, and coconut with shea butter. Yeah, that's a good one. Carrot seed oil. Hell yeah, that's an awesome one. That one does have a higher SPF. That sounds like a really great recipe. You should keep making it. You said you used to make it. I bet you could pull that one back out. That's a great recipe. Yeah. Oh, okay, cool. MS is saying, I crushed the dragon's blood, mixed it with water, put it on my body before I went to sleep, and my friend didn't. Oh, okay, that must be from something before. But, I woke up, I didn't have a sunburn anymore. So I'm assuming then it healed your sunburn. Dragon's blood. We have dragon's blood capsules from Cultivate Elevate.
Yeah, we do.
And I've been very intrigued with it, to be honest. And it's very interesting. And Mario was taking it for his eye for a little while there. Mm-hmm. And anyway, I'm going to think about maybe mixing it with an oil and trying to use it as like post-sun oil. That'd be cool.
Thunder Chicken.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Thunder Chicken. Decarb cannabis for internal use for psychoactive effects. I don't decarb it for topicals. Lowest temp possible. Gotcha. Oh, there you go.
And then down below, he has another comment.
Yep. THCA. The A stands for acid. Okay. So then what's about the carbon? Because I've always heard Ben talk about like you're knocking off the carbon. So you're knocking off an acid instead. So then where's the, what is the decarb part of it then? That would have been a good question for our roundtable. We should do another roundtable because I feel like we didn't get to go as far as I wanted. But maybe Thunder Chicken is still there, if he's still here. If not, I'll ask him. Anyway, I think that's pretty good.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Thank you all.
Good weave.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
I like it.
Thanks.
And you're very knowledgeable with your oils.
Yeah, I really like them, and we kind of went everywhere. So sorry, it took a little longer.
No,
this
you're
time.
good. Totally. You're solid. Awesome. So my topic then, right? I want to talk about. Okay, so DJ Vanity Green. I just have to. This is why we pause reading the chat in between our sessions here or whatever.
Okay.
Because I want to read this, but just an FYI on for-profit, nonprofit, 501, blah blah blah. Michelle could sell healing products as for-profit, but her educational lessons could be nonprofit. Oh, gotcha. Okay, I thought it was a goodwill thing.
Okay.
I thought it was goodwill dirt.
No.
I was like, oh, I got to read this.
Nice.
Either way, thanks for the info.
Yep.
Gotcha. So the topic I want to discuss tonight is the nature of light, and dark. Lightness
Okay.
and darkness.
Okay.
And I've just been thinking about this topic lately. And the reason why is because I've been absorbed in a couple of books recently, a few books, prepping for a show I did yesterday. And so I did a show yesterday with Juan on his podcast, but we streamed it to my channel as well. And we did it about, it's called The Tunnels of Set. And I talked about some of this material last week. And I've just been kind of absorbed in this information. And, when I was talking about it, And I announced that we were going to go live that day. I got at least one or two comments of someone said something along the lines of like, oh, I wish anyone luck who decides to go down that rabbit hole. It gets pretty dark. You should bring a torch. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. And I'm like, I understand. It's for some people, it's very disturbing information and all that kind of stuff. And to be honest, on the show, we didn't even really go like all in because we knew that some of it would be too much for YouTube. And so even just today and before the show, he even said maybe we could do, kind of an uncensored version of the show, and we could do it on some other platform that doesn't care. And so I think we're going to end up doing that with some other people. And, I've just been thinking about my relationship, I guess, with this kind of information. And, one of the things that I've kind of realized is that we've talked about this before, is that we both have a high tolerance for darker subject matters.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean everyone else has that same tolerance, obviously. And so whenever it comes time for me to discuss these sorts of things, I feel like for like my whole life, honestly, if I bring up certain subjects that are kind of darker in nature, darker themed, I've gotten pushback from people like my whole life, my whole life researching this kind of material, at least, at the very least. And so we've brought up things, bless you. We've mentioned this before, but we've brought things up like in person at parties, and literally it was like the record scratch sort of moment, and everyone stops dancing and looking at us or whatever.
Yeah.
And anyway, so
and then they stop talking to us.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's just kind of got me thinking about what is the nature of this material, I guess the value of looking at the darkness, the value of being skeptical of the light as well. And just ultimately, you want to have a balance. I think that you want to be able to acknowledge what's light and what's dark. So you just want to acknowledge what is, basically. But I think that to avoid, quote unquote, the darkness, I think that is potentially, actually, I don't think I know. It's actually a big mistake because you're kind of avoiding, your subconscious. You're kind of avoiding things that relate to the other side of life, because really we're talking about one coin and we're talking about the two sides of the same coin.
Right.
Heads and tails, as an example, obviously. And then when you're dealing with occultism, you're dealing with what's hidden. So you're dealing with hidden information. And so lots of things are hidden here, right? I know most of this audience is going to understand, just the nature of this kind of material and these types of topics and stuff, and that there is value, in these topics. And so I feel like partly this is me not necessarily justifying my interest in this stuff, but it's something because of what it is. I've like wrestled with it and I've been conflicted with it, before. And I'm not conflicted on my own. I'm not conflicted when I read it. I'm not conflicted when I'm doing my own personal research or anything like that. But it's when the public is aware of what I'm looking into, or it's when the public is judging basically an author or something that I may have read before. That's what kind of bothers me a little bit, and then I kind of feel like, and that's on me, it's not on them. This is all me stuff. So I can completely acknowledge that, and so, but it's just, this whole lead up to doing the show with Juan last night. And then today I kind of was just thinking about it more because also too, I just know that those types of subject matters, if it's a really, really, what's the right way of putting it? But there is an audience for darker themes out there.
Yes.
But the material that those people are interested in, they're not really interested in it for personal growth purposes.
Right.
It's more so entertainment.
Right.
Darker music, horror movies, just like novels that are like darker in nature, stuff like that. Like there's a ton of stuff out there that's like that. But I would say that most of the people, I just think they just like the aesthetic of it, They like the aesthetic. They like kind of the style that it kind of affords them, whatever sort of thing. And we've met people. We've talked about this many times before. But it's funny, when I moved to Portland, I definitely got exposed to more alternative people. And, these people would wear black, band shirts like all the time. And they would have these crazy ass tattoos. And they've got fucking like piercings on their face. And they look like they're like street kids or gutter punk kids or goth kids or something like that. They fit in a genre. You know what I mean? But they're like the most closed-minded people I knew.
Yeah.
Completely shut off to like true alternative information or alternative insights. And so I think that kind of like some of the darker aspects of reality, I just think that there's a lot of, not confusion, but I think there's a hesitance to embrace it for various reasons. And I'm not saying embrace the darkness, you guys got to get fucking crazy here and
Right.
get all in. But I guess my main thing that I'm going to build up to here is just that you can't have the light without the dark.
Right. No. And if you do, like, shit's going to be off.
Right. And so you can't have the light without the dark. And some of the material that Juan and I were talking about is the fact that the darkness is related to this great mother, this great original goddess that is the cosmos, right? And so there's there's a lot kind of going on with that. So I think that in a lot of ways, the sort of light side of reality and the dark side of reality here is very much I think there's been a lot of inversions. And so I think that many things have been inverted, and I think that just kind of like this general topic of light versus dark is kind of an appropriate theme to discuss for a few reasons. In part, too, because Gemini season is coming up. And so you have the dual aspect of the Gemini twins. You've got the polarity of the Gemini twins. So you've got this light side and then you've got this dark side, Same thing with us, I have a light side, but I also have a dark side, as do you, as does everybody. Because there is the side of you that we can see with our own eyes, right? But then there's also this invisible side to you, that you have an etheric double. You have a spirit or you have a soul, And so there's another aspect to you that we cannot visibly see, but what we can see is an aspect of all of that. Right?
Right.
So there's an as above, so below relationship. But there's like a front facing, very visible side to reality. But then there's also this hidden aspect to reality as well. And I would say that the visible side comes from the hidden side of things.
Yeah, it like almost has to be. It's like that's where it's created.
That's where it's created. Exactly. So to be kind of unaware of that origin and to be turned off by it even, or to not want to be interested in it or whatever, you're like ignoring like half or more of the equation. You're ignoring like half or more of like what's really out there or what's really going on. And so I think partly, I think that we're kind of maybe preaching to the choir here or whatever. But, conspiracy theory, if you're getting into conspiratorial topics or whatever, you're looking into the hidden side of reality. And then very quickly you start talking about the world of magic and the occult and, bloodlines and all this other kind of stuff, right? And so it's a lot of things that a lot of people are completely unaware of. And so, but you're looking at the roots of everything. You're looking at the underbelly of everything, So to me, this is another aspect of it. It's almost kind of like, there's the visible tree, right? I've obviously done presentations on the world tree and we've, the cosmic tree and stuff like that. And so what you're seeing with the tree, it's like you're seeing the visible portion of the tree, the above ground portion. Mm-hmm. But that above ground portion would not exist without its roots,
right?
Which you cannot see, which is underground. So that's another metaphor of everything I think comes from this original dark place, comes from the cosmos. And there's so many metaphors for all of this that could just be a whole thing in and of itself. So that's the main thing I want to talk about, this light versus dark sort of aspect, because of the themes I've been talking about and because it's just kind of been on my mind and whatever. And so one of the things that we didn't really get into last night is the idea of how sex magic works.
Okay.
And what's going on with sex magic. Because sex magic is a big part of, the tunnels of Set, Klipothic, magical ritual, side of things. That's one of the techniques, is that you're going to get into what's going on with sex magic and how it's evolved over the years. And I was reading about the different degrees and different groups and what techniques are used and whatever. And a lot of it has to do with polarity. A lot of it has to do, they kind of look at things almost like a battery of sorts, that they know that there should be a positive and a negative side. So one person plays that positive aspect, another person might play that negative aspect. And then the actual techniques, though, that are used, obviously, because we're dealing with what we're dealing with, it gets very deviant.
And dark.
And very dark.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It has to with sex.
Right.
That's like part of the reason why they're into it, I think.
Yeah.
It's because there is light to it, too.
Yeah.
Because obviously, sex has a dark, it can be, dark and light. But I think that the sex magic has such a potent duality in that way. Anyway.
Right.
That's kind of just my thought of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is how it was explained in the book that I was reading. But in the book, it says that basically that there is a relationship with the above and the below. So your body has a relationship with the earth. That there is a correspondence between how your body functions and the earth itself. Mm-hmm. And so they're actually one and the same. You're dealing with terrain.
Right.
So the terrain of the earth and the terrain of your body have a lot of overlapping things in common with each other.
Right.
And so it's also true with your body and the universe. And so the way some of these practitioners look at it is that if you're trying to explore the hidden aspects or the darker aspects of the cosmos, then you're going to have to explore the hidden darker aspects of self. And they use some of this sex magic, stuff in order to do that. And so it's almost kind of like yoga, honestly. You know how with yoga, you if you're trying a new move, it almost feels like you're unlocking a new part of, yourself.
Yes.
Because you're just realizing like, oh, I've never been in this position.
Right.
I didn't even know I had this muscle.
Right.
Or whatever, or that I could even do that. It's kind of a similar sort of idea. And by the way, I'm not condoning people do this. And I think that there's a lot of dangers actually from pursuing this type of stuff. Mm-hmm. And so it's not something that I'm personally interested in exploring.
Right.
But I'm just saying that this is the material I was getting into.
Right.
And so there's this idea that in order to explore the hidden parts of reality, you have to explore the hidden parts of self, right? And this all might be one gigantic psyop too. This could be one gigantic psyop.
That's always possible.
It could be one gigantic old school like MK Ultra program sort of thing, and these guys are putting out this material and they want people to go crazy or get fried, attempting some of this stuff or whatever, right? But that is the deal. That everything that I just said right now regarding the body and the universe and all that kind of stuff. They also in that book, in the Night Side of Eden book, they talk about the correspondences with the tarot cards and the Hebrew alphabet and the diseases that relate to them. And so this is just another thing, another layer that they kind of have with their system. And so there's 22 tunnels, there's 22 Hebrew letters, there's 22 tarot cards, and there's also 22 diseases or illnesses that correspond with these tunnels, because everything about this whole system is exploring the night side of Eden. It's exploring the night side of everything, basically. It's exploring the deep shadow that seemingly everything came from and was produced from, which is deeply, deeply feminine, right? Which they correspond to the Great Mother, as I've been saying, or Typhon, right? And so when you think about disease, what does disease do? It's like I think of decay, I think of things breaking down, I think of putrefaction. This is like a necessary part of like alchemy, is like the breaking down of things, or all the things you do, It's like when you're making something, if you're creating something, like how many times do things need to distill or get broken down, or transform and transmute into something else through this dissolution sort of process.
Right.
Right. And so it's been said that destruction is the first act in the creative process, which I've said many times over before. But in order to create something, you need to destroy something.
Right.
Something needs to be, sacrificed. You need raw materials. You need resources, things like that. So no one, at least in today's world, it's like you don't build a house without, lumber. Right. So you're going to have to get that lumber somewhere, which means that some trees are going to have to come down, and that wood is going to have to get cut and processed and all that kind of stuff. So that's what a lot of this information is about. That's what I think a lot of people, they want to acknowledge the unifying aspect of reality, but it's hard for people to acknowledge the destructive or decaying or dissolving aspect of reality, right?
Yeah.
And so people have a hard time with death, and I'm just really, really seeing it now as just it's a transmutation of energy. I just personally don't think that you actually literally die. I think that a part of you goes on, and that you go back to what I always just refer to as the great beyond, or the spirit realm, if you want to put it that way. But your physical body, obviously, that's a different situation. That's a different story. But the spiritual aspect of you, it does transform, seemingly. And so there's this big sort of, some people have referred to it as a run and return. That there's this big run and return thing here, where it's just like it just seems like almost like a toroidal field. Like energy is constantly just going and coming back, and going and coming back, and going and coming back. It's almost like the infinity sign or something. So just like the torus field, energy is going and coming back, going and coming back, going and coming back, transmuting, evolving, changing, returning. A run and return. That seems to be the thing that happens here. Some people have said that the only thing that can happen here is things come together and then things break apart. And it's seemingly kind of true. It's just like when you just look around you.
Right.
And so it's just like there's a unifying aspect to reality, but then there's this dissolution sort of aspect to reality as well. And so I think that, a lot of occultism, it's focusing on that side of things, right? So to me, one of the things that I've wanted to get off my chest is the fact that if we're talking about polarity, and we're talking about the light and the dark, and we're talking about the positive and the negative, each of those things, that spectrum, the positive and the negative, there's literally a spectrum within each of those as well.
Oh, yeah.
So if we're looking at the positive, even the positive, there's a positive aspect to positivity, and then there's a negative aspect to positivity. And if you're looking at the negative side, there's a positive aspect to negativity, and then there's a negative aspect to negativity. So nothing here is just wholly good or wholly bad.
Right.
Either. There's like no universal sort of thing like that, in my opinion. And so when I'm out and about and I'm seeing things kind of unfold or whatever, it's just really hard for me just to label that person's a good guy. That guy is bad.
Right.
Orange man bad. or whatever. You know what I mean? I just can't see it that simply anymore.
Right.
There's gray area with everything, and so there's such a thing as toxic positivity.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, there is.
And then there's such a thing as, I think, positive negativity.
Right.
And so again, the toxic positivity, it's like, how many people have been duped by someone saying things that are nice and fluffy and warm and seemingly of the light? How many light workers are literally fucking not right? and are taking advantage of the fact that most people are going to find what they're saying appealing.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
The whole thing with communitarianism too is it's all for the community, or don't you want to do this or do that or support this or support that for everyone else's well-being.
Right.
Well, that kind of sounds nice, why wouldn't I like that, right? But when you really look into it, as we have and you have, you realize that actually, holy shit, it sounds nice, to like the normal person, but actually there's a lot of extremely toxic, awful, horrible things going on with all of that.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's just a funny thing, just to kind of be reminded of all this stuff, I think. And just again too, just because something's dark doesn't mean it's good.
Right.
It, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's bad either, right? Is nighttime bad?
No, it's necessary.
That's, exactly.
I think that's
100% necessary.
Yeah.
So it's like,
and so is the light.
Right. And so I've said this many times over as well, but like, you can't have spring or summer without fall and winter. Mm-hmm. It's just, you need this balance. It's actually a beautiful, beautiful balance. And I think the more you can kind of appreciate it and see it for what it is, I think the better off you're going to be. And I think that it's actually more holistic this way. So just because you consider yourself on the right hand path and, you're a light worker or something like that, that doesn't mean you're being holistic at all.
Well, typically, in my experience and our experience, a lot of those people that are in that mindset are the opposite of holistic. But
right.
They'll literally call themselves a holistic healer or some shit.
Right.
Which is like the weird thing about it to me. That's always irked me. And it's something I've noticed for a long time. I know I've brought this up before, but I've noticed this so much that it's just like these people putting on the front. It was like what you were talking about with the people you met in Portland. Oh, metal shirts. They're all rough and tough. They've got piercings and tattoos. And they're really closed-minded. And what I thought you were going to bring up is that most of these people that are wearing all the shirts and the band stuff, like the black metal stuff, that typically uses symbols, that they have no fucking idea what the symbols mean.
Yeah, that's
and they're walking
thing, yeah.
around wearing these symbols. And you have an interesting story that I don't want to take you off of this, but you have an interesting story about that guy who had the
is it a shirt?
No, it was the tattoo on his arm.
Oh shit, yeah.
The 7-pointed star.
Right.
Right? And,
yeah.
And somebody in a bar noticed it and went up to him, and it was like this kind of like understanding, like, I saw your symbol, oh, you're one of us, and dude had no idea what the symbol actually meant.
Right.
And the guy was threatening him to whatever.
Yeah, he's being a poser basically.
Yeah. And so it's like the danger of the veneer or the mask that's worn by these people. It goes along with this light worker thing and whatever. I'm a holistic healer, but they don't live a holistic life.
Right.
But they act as they do.
Right. Right. No, it's totally true. Exactly. Yeah. So it's like almost for a lot of these people, they like the surface level aesthetic appeal behind some of these things, but they're not actually integrating the information, in my opinion, in a holistic sort of way.
Right.
Because really what you're doing, in my opinion, kind of like one of the main points is that there are shadow aspects to self. There's a reason why the Hermit card, as an example, is such an important card, is because you're going within. And what is the Hermit doing? He's exploring, he's walking at night, but he's holding his own lantern.
Right.
Right.
And
so, and he's associated with caves and things like that. And so he is going through a phase of solitude to work on himself away from others. And by doing so, when he comes back out of the cave, when he comes back out of this hermetic phase of life, he is that much stronger of a person, and he's that much more of an ally to people who might need his help or might need, a shaman or something like that. Like the Hermit card corresponds very heavily with people who are on the shamanic path, like the real shamanic path.
Right.
And a lot of times these people have had traumas that they needed to address at some point in their life. And I'm of the opinion too that like everybody goes through traumatic stuff here. You just can't avoid it. It's one of these things where it's a core dynamic of this place. And in my opinion, it's something that should be addressed, versus swept under the rug. And so if you're sweeping it under the rug, that's the darkest shit you can actually do.
That's a great point.
You're better off acknowledging the things that you have problems with, the things that you might have hangups with, the various traumas or ordeals that you maybe find difficult to acknowledge. You are better off walking through that fire and acknowledging it and working on it than suppressing it, because when you suppress your own shadow, that's when it actually comes out like full force.
Yes.
That's when full-blown addictions can come into play. That's when like full-blown like just all sorts of different like psychological, emotional illnesses will just kind of like pop up. It's because you've kept it suppressed for such a long time,
right?
That that it's going to express itself in some way, shape, or form.
And to go off of this, and this is just from our own personal experience as a couple, you can suppress a shadow or suppress something you're embarrassed about or whatever, and you might think that people don't know or you don't show it or whatever. But as somebody who did that herself, like suppress certain things, and you being like, oh, I kind of knew these things from the beginning. Like people who are seeing things and they're like genuine people who are just observers, you can see it on people. And then when you start doing your own shadow work, you then become that mirror for somebody else or vice versa, where then you can see it on somebody else. And it's like the more you do it, the more you're able to see. And you think that you might be, you think by hiding it, you're basically not fooling anybody. You're only fooling yourself. The very common statement of that. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah.
Because I think that statement, that's like quotable of like the sweeping under the rug and that being like the darkest work you can actually do.
Right.
That's really good, Bub. That's a really great way of saying it.
And so this is why I think in part that there has been this, I don't know what happened, but there has been an inversion of seemingly almost everything here.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Oh, yeah.
On a mainstream sort of level. And so I think that a lot of people, they're clearly unaware that they even have some of these corridors within.
Yes. Yes.
And
yes.
that they're in a way, to me.
And that's okay.
Exactly. It's okay. Yeah. But in a way, it's almost like they're literally, or at least metaphorically, I should say. Metaphorically, there's people who are scared of their own shadow.
Wow. Yeah.
They're literally scared of their own shadow.
Yeah.
They're scared of their own history, where they came from, what their story is, what their traditions are all about, and it's all about progress. Excuse me. It's all about progress. It's all about, the latest and greatest moving forward sort of thing. But they don't acknowledge, some of these things that are difficult, to digest and to integrate. But it's necessary. It's completely necessary, because if you don't do that, you're not actually in touch with your full self.
Right.
You're not actually aware of, yourself holistically. And so this is what the ego is all about. I think there's multiple ways of talking about the ego, but it kind of protects you in a way. It's like a defense mechanism sort of thing in certain ways.
Yeah.
Where it can kind of prevent you from looking at your flaws.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, it's one of these things where that's a shadow aspect of self. If you have a flaw that you can't address. I've heard people say that there were periods in their life where they couldn't even look in the mirror.
Oh, yeah.
That literally, that they were so, that their lifestyle was so out of sorts that they chose to not look in the mirror for like years.
That's crazy, man.
So isn't that an interesting dynamic? They don't want to look at their visible self because there's a correspondence, because they don't want to address their shadow self.
Right.
They don't want to look at their visible self because they don't want to address their hidden self.
Right.
Okay, so there's a correspondence, there's a correlation with all of this stuff, right? And a lot of people think too, because you're getting glory and you're getting shine from other people, because people like you, because people are, whatever, chanting your name and stuff, which I love that when that happens to me. You know what I mean? Mario, Mario,
Mario.
But people get fooled into thinking that the warm sort of glow of the masses is in some way a like substitute to understanding self or having a good relationship to self. That external approval, they think, is as good as internal approval.
Right. And most people only seek external approval.
Yes.
Because external approval makes us feel good, right? Of course. Who doesn't like to be acknowledged? Who doesn't like to be, all these things? And so, yeah, these are all great points. I'm so glad this is the topic you wanted to talk about.
So I think that this aversion to darkness, I think it's so funny because what we're there again, there's people who love horror movies. Mm-hmm. There's people who love horror video games and all this other kind of stuff, but they're not learning the real, at least I assuming so. But it doesn't seem to me like a lot of these people are learning or integrating the real valuable lessons that can come from this shadow work. It's not about shadow work.
No.
It's just showing you spooky things, But I think in one way that kind of says something about humanity, And so there's a whole thing you can get into about the trajectory of horror movies over the last, 60 years or something, where it's just like they've evolved and they've changed over time. And every time they evolve and change, it says something about where humanity is at, basically. And it does speak to, I think, this kind of like underlying curiosity about that kind of stuff. Because one of the main reasons why people are, why they're averting these things, these topics, and they're not really into it, is because a lot of people, they're just afraid of the mysteries, basically. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't want to not know the answer. So that's what happens when you get into some of these topics is you're literally diving into the realm of mystery, which is way more feminine.
Yeah.
So women are way more mysterious than men, symbolically, I would say. Personally, that's how I generally look at it. But women are more mysterious than men. Just look at our sexual organs. We're all out in the open.
Right.
It's all outside of us. It's all external.
That's true.
A woman's is internal, And so it's just like, so there's a mystery there. There's a veil there. And so some people don't like to look behind the veil, and I think that we kind of have conditioned people to always want very clear answers to everything as well, and so that's what school teaches you. Oh yeah, there's an expert for that. Right. Oh yeah, no, Professor so-and-so at this university says that event happened and this is how many whatever the fuck happened. So there's an event, there's an expert for everything, and so what happens when there's some event on the news? Oh, well, roll out the experts and the officials, they're going to tell you everything you need to know. They're the new priest class. So the people that are telling you answers in the mainstream media, this is the new priest class. Because it used to be the priests that were telling people what was going on in reality, right? And so it's funny, too, because in Taurus season, right, it corresponds with the Hierophant, the high priest. So it's the high priest, because he has the keys to heaven, he has all the answers to everything, right? And so, again, people want the external insight of the expert, external, there's even a relationship there with everything. Right. And so they want those clear answers. So if you go through the mainstream school system, there's no mysteries left. Oh no, we know this planet's this big, and oh yeah, it's made out of this material. Oh yeah, it's this far away. Oh yeah, this is how our solar system works. Oh, this is how this works. This is how that works. Oh yeah, we've got it all under control. We understand and know everything in science. Yeah, there's a few things out there that we're trying to figure it out, but we've got the experts working on it. So they're really close to curing cancer, or they're really close to doing this or doing that or whatever, And so we've been conditioned, like a whole lifetime of conditioning, to not embrace the mysteries, which is to say, to not embrace spirits or not embrace the other side of the equation of everything, the physical and the metaphysical, the material and the immaterial. Okay.
Right.
And so I said this last night on the show, space is a really good example of what I'm talking about, because in my opinion, I really think that space is the underworld. Space is the realm of spirit. But what have we been taught our whole entire lives? We've been taught that, oh yeah, nope, people went to the moon in 19 fucking whatever, 60 something, 69. So went to the moon in 1969, and oh yeah, it's rough out there. So yeah, we've had our issues with rockets exploding and whatever. And oh yeah, we sent some fucking satellite, beyond Saturn, and oh, look at the photos it sent back, and this and that. And so we've been conditioned to think that space is a material place. I don't think it is. It doesn't seem to me like it's an actual material place the same way we exist in a material place. It's the other side of the equation. And so to me, the suppression of the mysteries, because very quickly, if we've never been there and we don't have all the answers about space, you very quickly get into huge cosmic questions about, well, like, what is this place? Where did we come from? What's going on here? What's the nature of reality? What's the nature of spirit? And so our mainstream system has basically conditioned us to not ask some of these questions, which are very, very feminine and will lead to more feminine answers or just more feminine questions, to be honest.
Right.
Because the correspondence that I've been looking into lately, which I think makes a lot of sense, is that if that is the realm of spirit, that is the realm of the Great Mother. That is the great goddess from which everything came from. She's related to chaos. She's related to spirit itself, but she's related to the darkness. So we have turned her existence completely upside down. Now it's literally just facts. Oh, this planet's this big, and it's this far from the sun, or it's this far from Earth. It's made out of this material. It's made out of this substance. This is how long it'll take us to get there. Here's a bunch of movies about people going there in their little rockets and everything else, and their little ships and stuff. Even though I think it's just impossible. I don't think it could actually be done. You know what I mean?
Right.
But all of that is to say is that as we suppress and as people avoid this conversation, I think the correspondence is that space being inverted, the avoidance of holistic ways of looking at, what I'm just like calling the darkness or whatever, or this blackness, or this primordial sort of energy from which everything emanated from, it's the suppression of the mother.
Yeah.
That's really the thing, is that this material that I've gotten into, all of the symbolism, which I think makes a lot of sense, it's all about the mother. It all goes back to the mother. And so the mysterious side of the sacred feminine, there's a correspondence with the mysterious side of reality. And the actual manifestation of that literally is the sky. In particular, the night sky, when the sun has set, right? And so I think that there's a relationship between the distortion of space, its relationship to the feminine, and this distortion of some of these topics, some of these occulted topics, some of these hidden topics, and the suppression of the mother. And I think that's kind of the deal.
Damn, that's a great conclusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of how I'm personally seeing it now.
You know, it makes sense because that kind of like goes along with how our society is.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
exactly.
like our society doesn't really promote you to take it slow or listen or all those like
Exactly.
the more emotional qualities. It's not about listening a lot of times. It's about, you know, this, that, the other thing. It's not like slowing down and actually listening to yourself even or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
100%.
so the confident idiot, as we've talked about,
Yeah.
the confident idiot is the result of kind of like the opposite, like doing the opposite, following if it is the suppression of the mother, which I think you're spot on with it, that all of those things are promoted. What I'm just talking about. Confident idiot, you know, you're not listening, you think you know everything, you've got it all figured out, whatever. Those are all qualities of when your feminine is out of balance.
Yes. You're right. Exactly.
Yeah. What we've been talking about lately, actually.
Yeah, totally. No, 100%. You're right.
Yeah.
Listening, being receptive, you know, going within, you know, being holistic, you know, all of these things 100% relate to the sacred feminine.
Yeah, yeah.
And so to me, symbolically, what this is you're also therefore then cutting off people from their roots.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, which is why the tunnels of Set is related to the roots of the tree of life.
Right.
That's the inversion of the tree of life, is the tree of death, you know? And so sometimes it's depicted literally as the tree underneath the other tree. And so it's the root system. And I think I just wanted to say this too. I don't know. I think has Ben been around by chance? Balderson?
He was in here. I don't know if he's still here.
But he said one thing that was really interesting regarding the tree of life. And he said, there's no roots. And I was like, yeah, fuck, man, you're totally right. He's like, yeah, there's no roots. So that means that there's like no tradition and there's no stability, you know, there's no relationship with the soil, oil.
Right.
You know,
right.
There's no relationship with the soul then, perhaps, you know, all this stuff.
Yep.
And so I was like, damn, dude, that's a really good point, which is really funny now because I would love to talk to him about this. But there is a root system, but it's hidden.
Right. That makes so much sense.
There's a root system, but it's hidden. And so that is the esoteric side of that system. And so only people who are crazy enough and dark enough to like look into it are going to know about it, like me, you know. You know, so it's
I say wise enough to look into it. It's more about having wisdom.
Yeah, exactly. And so I look at the Hermit card as, you know, this kind of symbolism of going within, being okay with the shadow side of everything, and realizing that that's true holistic information. That's the real holistic sort of thing. There is literally being able to talk about these things, to discuss these things, to have mature conversations about these things, to not be turned off by these things, to acknowledge that, guess what, dude, your perception of self could be fucked up.
Yeah, it might be.
That you might, you know, it's okay. That's one of the hardest things for people to acknowledge, is when you've done something wrong, when you fucked up somehow, or when you realize that there's room for improvement. Right. You know, sort of thing. Or that when you realize that, oh man, you know, you did something to that person that was kind of not cool. Right. Well, that's symbolically, that's represented within. You know, that there's a correspondence, obviously, with how you treat other people and how you treat yourself. Right. You know, so if you just think you're all righteous and love and light and everything else, I would rather not be around that person. Yeah, yeah. And actually, we've had that experience. I've had that experience with those types of people. Right. And you can't... you can only get so far. There's always barriers. And there's, right. Even in conversation with that type of person, you can only get so far because you're unable to actually kind of be real at the end of the day, is what I've always found. Right. You know, you can't really even fully express yourself, because when you do, then there's like always kind of, if you're into being open to light and dark and knowing that the balance is very important. When you're in conversation with people who are more on the right-hand path solely, and they refuse to see the darkness, it can be very combative. Right. Actually. Right. You know, because they always have an answer for why the dark isn't the right way. It's because they don't know anything about it.
Well, exactly.
They-
And that's very classic.
Yeah.
When someone doesn't know something about something, to assume something, which we all do. We all do it sometimes, and whatever. So, yeah.
Right. Totally. So the last thing I'll say, just kind of completing the loop with the feminine being related to the universe, dude, just look at the freaking world card or universe card. The final card in the major arcana, the universe card.
Mm-hmm.
What is on there?
Yeah, a woman.
A woman.
Yeah.
Dancing.
Right.
This is where everything comes from.
Right. And where everything returns to.
Exactly.
Because, you return to the mother.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. So to me, symbolically, I mean, I know for purposes of just staying open-minded and acknowledging that I've been wrong many times before about a lot of things, I'm open-minded. What came first, the chicken or the egg, right? What came first, the masculine or the feminine? If I just had to put money down on something, it seems to me like there's reason to believe that it was feminine before it was masculine.
Yeah.
And that where we came from had a feminine core or feminine essence, and she's related to the night sky. You know? And so simply put, she's related to the night sky, and deep within her, this gets into Virgo symbolism a little bit, but a masculine entity was birthed. A masculine entity was created from her essence, right? From the chaotic womb, from this chaos mother, from this primordial goddess, right? The queen of heaven. And so to me, it just makes perfect sense that way. And one of the ways I relate this is we live in like the realm of light here, in so many different ways, right? And so, bless you.
Thank you.
I do think, if it is a man's world, I said this the other day on the show, if it is a man's world, then I think that it's actually the universe is feminine.
Man's world, woman's universe.
Yes.
That makes sense to me. Or that resonates.
So I think that that's partly the reason why things are inverted here. I think that's partly the reason why a lot of people have an aversion to this kind of information, why it gets a really bad rap, why people who choose to be more independent and sovereign, why they tend to get kind of like squeezed out of existence in so many different ways, or at least the attempt is always there.
Right.
That if you're really practicing your true sovereignty and you are actually independent, it's a beautiful thing. And the challenges and the obstacles, I would say, are absolutely worth it. That's part of why you're doing it. You're not doing it because it's easy. You're not doing it because it's a cakewalk, basically. Right. And dude, I love cakewalks. Okay. So I just have to say that too. Just a side tangent.
I know you do.
I love myself a good cakewalk. But, you are looked at as an enemy here. If you are independent, you are looked at as an enemy here. It just seems to be the case in so many different ways, so many different instances. But so it's not the easiest path to walk. But to me, it's the most worthwhile path to walk. And the collective is going to always side with the love and light. And it seems to me there's a long tradition of left-hand path people actually acknowledging and revering the Great Mother.
Ah, yeah.
I think that's part of the symbolism. So that's what I wanted to say.
Hell yeah. I love that.
Yeah. So a few thoughts, still chewing on all of this stuff, but just felt like riffing on some of these concepts for a little while. And hopefully someone, appreciates some of these thoughts. I'm just going to see if I have, perhaps the last thing I'll say is that in the Night Side of Eden book, he has a lot of material saying that the sun was for a long time looked at as being associated with hell. Oh,
dude. Yeah.
And
think how hot it is.
He gets into the etymology of different cultures, associating the sun with other words that imply kind of a hellish nature, and that a lot of the cults or religions that had a reverence for the Great Mother looked at the sun as being more adversarial.
Well, dude, okay, yeah.
So is this another inversion? I'm just throwing it out there because I think it's intriguing. Maybe I'll unpack it at some point. And I know people here have different opinions about sun masculine, sun feminine, moon masculine, moon feminine. Just another perspective, basically.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, I think of hell in the Norse tree of life and in that system, and I can't remember her name, but there's a woman who's like the guardian
Right.
of hell,
Right.
Hel, whatever, however
Right.
you want to pronounce it.
Right.
She is the guardian, and anyone out there who knows her name, or we can whatever. But yeah, totally.
Right. Isn't that interesting that the left-hand path gets a bad rap, but when you really dive into the symbolism of it, it goes back to mom.
Right.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense. So the color black, I look at as being more feminine.
Yeah.
And I
can see that.
I look at white as actually being more masculine.
That makes sense.
You know, it's the projective light versus the receptivity that absorbs the light
Right.
of the color black.
Right.
You know, so I think that's one of the reasons why the left-hand path has also been distorted, you know, and everything. People are afraid of like pentagrams and pentacles and stuff.
Right.
Dude, it's a deeply feminine symbol. It's a deeply feminine sign. People are afraid of the swastika. It's a deeply feminine symbol.
Right.
It just is. So I think when you're really getting into these deep occult currents, it has a lot to do with the sacred feminine. There's a reason why Freemasons wear aprons. It's a feminine symbol.
Wow.
So a lot of occultism goes back to women. That's why I think partially it is not really promoted and it's looked down upon. I'm not saying these occult groups have it all going on. I'm not saying that these guys are worth joining. I'm not saying any of that stuff. What I'm saying is when you really study these currents, the sacred feminine comes up quite a bit. It's a really big deal, and they associated her with the North.
Right.
They associated her with Ursa Major, the Great Bear. And she's not just a great bear, she's a mother bear.
Right.
So I think this is partly some of the inversion that's going on here. Is that, oh, guess what? Sacred feminine symbolism, fuck that. We'll give you the lowest version of that. But when you really take a look at it, dude, it corresponds with the North.
Right.
So I think that Northern suppression is sacred feminine suppression.
Whoa, babe, dude, this is so juicy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, okay, because also, and this is so duh, you know, most people go, well, duh, but it's just like, yeah, okay, the whole patriarchy thing, you know.
Duh. Freaking duh, dude.
But I mean, you know.
Did you just start paying attention to things like 10 minutes ago or something?
Just the thought that like we probably, or at one time it was a matriarchy and then it switched over, whatever, or some people think that it's always been a matriarchy, it still is a matriarchy, you know. So it would make sense to me then too with how they promote the patriarchy, oh, it's a man's world and whatever, which you're probably right, but like you said, it's actually a woman's universe. So like the bigger picture is that. Yes,
Dude.
it's a man's world, but the bigger picture is that it's actually a woman's
But where
universe.
did this all come from?
Exactly. It came from somewhere.
It came from the feminine.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's mirrored in the story of Sophia and the Demiurge. So Sophia is the primordial goddess. She gave birth to the Demiurge, the first masculine energy or entity. And one of the things with the Demiurge is that one of his first commands from, I don't even know where, the ether or something, was to move. And so because the sacred feminine corresponds with the North, specifically the North Star. She's the goddess of the seven stars, of Ursa Major and Ursa Minor. But the North Star is always there in the same place. And so it's considered an imperishable star or an eternal star, right? And so so she's the original essence, basically. You know, the masculine energy came from her, and the symbolism is different. And so in a way, you can kind of look at the Demiurge as being symbolic of this realm that we currently live in, the realm of light, I guess you can say. And the Demiurge thinks that he is the supreme deity. That's one of his arrogant beliefs, is that he's the end-all be-all deity. But he doesn't realize his big flaw, because he has such a huge ego and he corresponds with ego as well. His big flaw is that he doesn't realize that he has a mom.
Right.
His big flaw is that he doesn't realize that there's a God above God.
Right.
Which is the goddess.
Right.
So just saying, a lot of the symbolism in a lot of religions and groups and stuff, I think kind of backs up a lot of this information.
Right.
And so I think the suppression of the female is epic. It's way more epic than people realize.
Yeah. Yep.
So this patriarchal thing, as much as I realize that there's this political bullshit aspect to it,
right,
there is something to it though.
Yeah.
There's multiple threads to pull at. It's kind of like a multifaceted, multi-layered conversation.
Yeah.
But there's something to it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I mean, you just study the patterns in pop culture. Literally is all you kind of have to do to kind of see that this stuff, and we could give out multiple, examples or what have you. But
dude, and just the inversion of genders right now and
Oh,
everything
God.
else. Do you know what I mean? Because even women don't appreciate what a woman represents.
No, they don't.
A lot of women don't, at least.
They don't see it,
So they're like, "Oh, cool. We'll accept you with open arms." But it's just like, it's, obvious. I don't even want to open up this rabbit hole or this can of worms or whatever. But you know what I'm talking about, and people here know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think we should have a, some kind of discussion about that at some point,
right,
on last Thursday, because, I know it's something we talk about all the time, and how can you not? It's like literally flaunted in your face all the time.
Right.
And really, what this reminds me of, and if Elise or James are still listening, it reminds me of what Elise, brought to my attention when we first started talking, the sister wound. And the sister wound being perpetuated by things like this. Women going against women. And not realizing that they're literally wounding each other by doing these things, by saying, "Oh yes, we accept the trans man as a woman now. You're in our field or whatever." That's a fucking sister wound.
Yeah.
You are perpetuating that. And there's also brother wounds, I believe, because there can't be sister wounds without brother wounds. Like, it just doesn't work that way. There's things that happen to men in that regard too.
Right.
But that whole concept of the sister wound, man, when she told me about that it like seriously blew up my mind in such a good way.
Right.
And then was able to go through my own life and see how not only had there been sister wounds conflict, on me, but how I had also, inflicted sister wounds upon someone else by making decisions that I made or doing or saying things that I did or whatever,
Yeah.
And you don't know what you don't know. And so, and so this all just kind of reminds me of that in a big way. And it's so detrimental to both sexes when these things happen.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's gonna, what a lot of things are going on with that. So, whoa.
Right.
Great topic, bub.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a good one.
Right on. Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for hanging in there, guys. And I want to see who is hanging in the chat. I want to make sure that our lighting looks a little bit better. Jeez.
Yeah, we're pretty blown out right now. Jeez.
Okay. Cool. Let me adjust real quick. Actually, do you mind if I just hit the restroom?
Oh yeah, go for it. Oh, wow. What a good one. God, I love talking about this subject so much. I mean, both Mario and I do. And I know the people in the chat do too. All right. We're super out of focus now. But yeah, I know you guys in the chat are liking it too. So that's awesome. But yeah, this is such a great weave. I think it should be talked about more. I think it's talked about quite a bit, but I think that it's something that it tends to like bubble up at certain points or something. And with all the research Mario's been doing lately, there's just been a lot of conversation that we've had around this sort of subject. So, yeah, this is such a good one. And, yeah, wow, love it. And I see that Elise says she's got a lot of weaves with this whole talk in the Telegram. Oh, okay, cool. Oh, maybe in my Telegram, maybe not last Thursday, but that's awesome. Yeah, this subject really does, really does open up a lot of things for people when you really start to look at it. You know, and what I also too like want to say about, we kind of briefly touched about like the trans stuff and whatever. And, you know, I have compassion for the fact that these people are confused. And what Mario and I have talked about for a long time is like a lot of this stuff comes down to unresolved trauma. Like, I know that there's people will say I was born this way or whatever. And it's like, well, yeah, you may have been, because maybe you were born with freaking trauma because we all were. And so if the trauma is never addressed, but you can go to a psychologist who will give you hormones, but they never address your emotional state, that is totally backwards and totally bonkers. And so to me, the reoccurring theme that always comes back to me is that nobody's talking about what these people have gone through in their lives to get them to the point to feel as though they have to do something so extreme as to feel as though they need to change their gender, quote unquote. So anyway, that's just my last thought on that one.
You know what I just heard about this, by the way?
Anyway.
I just have to mention this.
Yeah.
So I'm sure probably some of you guys here maybe are aware of Soft White Underbelly.
Oh, yeah.
Soft White Underbelly is an amazing channel, and this guy, his name is Mark Leta, I believe. And he interviews people who live on the streets. He interviews prostitutes and, you know, pimps and drug dealers and people who are in prison. He interviews people who are like, you know, I don't even know the right word. Hillbillies, basically, like hardcore.
Oh, yeah.
Hillbillies, mountain people. He goes all over. He's interviewed mob bosses and like hitmen and shit like that. Like, he goes all over the place. But he is in Thailand right now, or he was in Thailand.
Okay, that's cool.
And he's interviewing Thai ladyboys. Because I don't know if you know.
Whoa.
But it's not uncommon. It's part of sex tourism for men to go over to Thailand, get a ladyboy, and dude, most people would not be able to distinguish the difference, you know, between a man or a woman, because they generally have smaller frames and whatever. And so they've got world-class ladyboys, and this is a big part of their sex tourism trade or whatever. And I was listening to one of these Thai ladyboys talk about stuff, and I was surprised to hear that they were taking hormones at a pretty young age.
Ah.
I was like, what? I was like, they had access to hormones when they were really young?
Who's giving them these hormones?
Who the fuck is giving them these hormones? What's the deal over there with all of that stuff? Because I've heard about it for years. It's like a joke even. Oh, you're going to Thailand? Oh, you're going to get a ladyboy. Or like, oh, be careful, dude, if you meet someone at the bar or whatever. You know what I mean? And it's a big deal over there. Like, they're kind of renowned. A lot of white guys
I bet.
love it. You know?
I bet, yeah.
And so it's very, very interesting hearing this person talk about the fact that they've been transitioning since their teens.
Wow.
I thought it was something that these guys, like, I don't even know what, you know, but I just assumed that I did not know that there was actually like medication early on over there for this stuff. And I'm like, dude, what the hell was this some sort of campaign or something?
Oh, it has to be.
Yeah. So anyways, I just think it's very, very interesting that that's the deal. Then their puberty never really fully kicked in and stuff.
Right. God, I mean, that's wackadoo, man.
Okay. So let's see who is here. What's going on, people? Once again, thank you for hanging. I scrolled up to the top of the comments to see what people are saying about this specific topic. Oh, thank you, Sarah. That's very nice of you. I appreciate that.
Nice. Yeah.
What's up, Ben?
Howdy, Ben.
Nice to see you, dude. I'm curious what you think about some of these topics. For sure, man. Let's see here. Yeah, Sarah says, all my punk friends succumb to stupidity and conformity. Yeah, sounds about right. I honestly think getting into some of the information we're getting into, to me, I kind of look at it as a progression of my early punk rock sort of attitude or whatever.
Ah, yeah.
That I almost feel like occultism, symbolism, even stuff related to your herbalism and kind of just like some of our independent minded ideas and whatever. To me, it almost just feels like a continuation of when I was like angsty and young and stuff.
Yeah, I guess I'll say the same thing, or just always kind of knowing that shit was off.
Right.
Something was off.
Totally, totally. I don't know if I said hey or what's up to the branch yet, but what's up, dude?
What's up, Joshua?
I can't think of Joshua without hearing him singing now, dude.
Yeah,
they
broke the mold with you.
a lot of people
You
won't
did it
get
better.
that, but
Yeah, he did such a good job singing for Jim's birthday video.
it was pretty good. Yeah, Kabir, everything comes from nothing. It's something to think about, man. It's interesting, but yeah, that's what some of the material I'm reading right now. I can't say I 100% endorse it. It's the real deal, anything like that, but that is what is being implied. Yeah, Liam is saying everything is nothing and nothing is everything.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see here. Sorry, guys, just going through the comments.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, Dave? How's it going, man?
Hey, Dave.
Last Thursday, live number 13, the Sex and Goodwill episode.
Hell yeah, dude. I like it. I'm so glad we went in the tangents we did today.
Right. No, totally. Josh was saying, also when sperm and ovum meet, there's a bright flash of light. Yeah, exactly. A zinc reaction, I think.
Yeah.
This gets into some Gemini symbolism. When two things come together, two people come together, a metaphor that people have used for a long time is that there is a spark.
Yeah, right.
That kind of comes from, that relationship.
The meeting, right.
Right. All right.
I see go up to Melanie says that she learned from Stacy that sperm is high in zinc.
Yeah.
And that is correct. And I'll just say one of the indications of a low zinc or zinc deficiency is sense of smell. If
Right.
you have a hard time smelling things, or if you're always just like, oh, my sense of smell just it's not that good or whatever, it could be a zinc deficiency.
Definitely.
Pumpkin seeds are high in zinc.
Okay. Cruising through the chat. Still good stuff.
Yeah, as always, everybody's always dropping good nuggets.
Yeah, exactly, Lucas. A lot of so-called healers are looking for healing themselves. Yeah, that's the dynamic. People who get into, which is awesome. I mean, I think it's one of these things where it reminds me of the story of Chiron, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, because and a lot of the people get into it for a good reason. Like they may even have.
So I'll just say that is the dynamic. A healer was once someone who needed to be healed.
Yes.
But not all healers are ready to heal other people because they have personal healing to do still.
And that's the distinction. That's the difference.
There's a difference there.
That's the difference. Yep.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So this is wow. Healers needing healing. God, I learned so many of these lessons through trying to hang out with herbalists.
Family Fungi says, most nights our son asks me to tell him night stories about death. Whoa, really? That's interesting.
Interesting.
Nice.
Oh, man. Maybe he was like a death worker in the past life or something.
Wow.
I'm
kind of curious what stories maybe you tell him.
Yeah, I bet you guys have good stories.
That's cool, man.
That's really awesome. Wow. God, kids are so cool. I mean, honestly, like, they're so awesome. I am always in awe of kids.
Yeah. They are good stuff. All right. Yeah. Is this what you're reading?
No, not quite.
Okay. Nice weave and observation, Mario. They have turned the night from feminine power to evil spirits or spiritos. What were you saying?
Birth control equals cutting roots.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Dude, clipping weens equals cutting roots.
Yeah. Very good. That's very nice.
I agree with that. And they don't want us to be rooted. They don't want us to have traditions. They don't want us to understand where we're from, where we come from, what we're all about. And so I think severing, us from all of that is part of the game plan, obviously.
Yeah.
Just going to read this. Fun imagining a surprise intervention, shadow work gift service. Mario knocking at door of a horror film fan friend, holding a mirror, sincerely inviting them to hang out with their real shadow. That's funny, dude. Yeah, that's hilarious.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Thank you guys for the support with everything. Okay, so LC King, I'm not surprised he wanted to chime in regarding the sun aspect. Sun is Helios, hell, relating to hill or halus. The origin of the word seemed to not be associated with the fire in the sky, but the earth and center, polar to solar. Yeah, dude, he sent me a message today. We're definitely going to do another polar related episode together.
Nice.
For sure. And
Good.
I'm stoked because he's been doing a lot of work with all this stuff. I will say the other thing, very, very interesting. According to the Night Side of Eden, very fascinating. Just going to throw it out there. The word semen and its roots, the origin of the word semen, basically goes back to seed. Okay. And that word originally was attributed to the feminine. That it was the woman who had the seed.
Whoa.
And that at a certain point, when things probably flipped from polar to solar, it became attributed to the man.
Interesting.
So he's saying that semen, meaning seed, and the origins of that word was more so associated with the sacred, divine, feminine, and woman, and mother, and not man. But when the flip occurred, then it got associated with man.
I mean, that checks out for immaculate conception then.
Virgin birth.
Yep.
Yeah. So just saying. Exactly. Yeah, totally. Exactly.
Because if she already had the seed, then of course it's going to sprout.
Which virgin birth is the same story of what I'm talking about.
Right.
With the universe and the cosmos and the realm of light.
Right.
So if you want to think about things, think about the circumpunct, and then which is a circle with a dot in the middle. That circle is the feminine. It's the womb. And so it's the cosmic womb as well. And that dot in the middle is the masculine. So it's the masculine is within the feminine. The same thing that we're saying. It's a man's universe, the dot, but it's a feminine. Sorry, it's a man's world, the dot, but it's a feminine universe, the circle. The dot, which this gets into all sorts of other stuff, esoteric stuff, but the dot, the point is more masculine, the circle is feminine. That's the end of it, basically.
Right.
That's the understanding in certain occult circles. And I just have to say, it's pretty interesting. So I'm not going to not acknowledge it. And I think there's more to chew on with all of that. Right. So moving on. So thank you, LC King, for that feedback. Interesting. MK. What's up, MK? In the biofield realm, the left side of the body is the maternal river. Mm-hmm. The left side of the body.
Right. Left-hand path.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Right, dude. Whoa. The whole thing with this being, mother suppression of the mother, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
That is seriously.
Family fungi. Some occult systems believe the visible sun is an emanation from a hidden great sun in the north. The black sun, I'm assuming.
Right.
So let's see what's going on. Awesome comments, guys. So let's see. Proceeding forward. Getting towards the end here, I think, of the comments.
Nice.
You got it, Diana. You're welcome. You are welcome, Sarah G.
Woohoo.
What's up? Davin's here. What's up, man?
Oh, hey, Davin. Haven't seen you in a while.
Nevada,
nice to see
17.
you.
All right. Oh, okay. Ben is saying, I have seen that Thai ladyboy interview videos. Bang cock, she says. Exactly.
Oh,
That's
man.
hilarious. I've gotten so much out of those videos. I just appreciate it. what he's doing over there.
Yeah, I like it too. I have a threshold. Mario will know what ones to suggest to me and what not to suggest, but
Yes.
I just watched one. It was a guy who was had multiple encounters with Ed Gein. Or sorry, not Ed Gein. What's his name?
Gacy.
Gacy, the clown guy. It was pretty interesting. Very interesting interview. That was a newer one.
So MS is asking, so why do you guys think these kids changing their sexes are falling for it so easily? I think that's kind of a big question, but I think it's been engineered over time.
Yeah.
I think that we're living, personally, I see a big, big change in Western culture and what happened in society at large. I think 1947 was a really big year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know it was a big year. It was a big year. 1947 was absolutely huge. It was post World War II. Basically, that was the initiation of a new program. So many things in the government changed.
Yeah.
A lot of people died. A lot of people were born. Influential people. A lot of influential people died. A lot of influential people were born. And the government, at least here in the U.S., was completely reconstructed. And so it's called the National Security Act of 1947. There's so many things, big, big things that got started in 1947 as well. Once again, World War II, I mean, I just think that there's so many. I don't buy the official narrative, is just what I'll say.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but 1947 was a big, big year. To me, it felt like there was a new program that was initiated. And I just think that there have been really big things that have changed since then. And I think in the 60s was kind of the initiation of a new program as well. And then I think 2001 was the initiation of another big program. And I think the last few years was initiation of another big program.
Yeah.
And so I think what we're seeing is that we're seeing an advanced program that who knows how long the gender bending fluid side of things has been part of the agenda.
Right.
So I think that we're kind of living in this reality now where it's like generations of people being conditioned to think a certain kind of way. So I think it's an easy sell for a lot of younger people who probably spend a lot of time on their phones, who don't really engage in reality and by design. So it's not these kids' fault,
No.
and I don't blame these people. I'm not angry at these people. If anything, to be completely honest, part of me just really has compassion for these people, because I think that there's a lot of lost souls. And I think what's going on is that there is an internal yearning to balance your opposites, to express yourself in a masculine way and a feminine way. I think it's healthy for men to have a divine feminine and understand their divine feminine. I think it's healthy for women to understand their divine masculine. So it's just like we all have all of these things. The hardest work to do is this kind of work. The hardest work to do is doing some of the shadow work stuff that we were talking about. And so a lot of these kids are convinced that they don't need to do that work. They just need to get an operation.
Right.
They just need to take these pills. They just need to dress a certain kind of way. And they're not trying to integrate the internal. They're trying to do it externally. So it's a very, very different way of going about it. And obviously you guys are aware too that there's a whole bunch of people out there that really regret their operations and really regret the transition and everything else. But you're not going to hear about that unless you're looking into it. But you're only going to hear about the people that are fabulous and doing all these things, and they're breaking down barriers and glass ceilings and shit like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think it's an easy sell for a lot of younger people for a lot of different reasons.
Well, and I also think too, just going off of when you're young and you're unexperienced, you are more naive. And so if you have adults around you, teachers and parents and family members and idols that they have that are in the public
They're looked
eye,
at as being like rock stars and heroes now.
Exactly. So, they're going to emanate that. That's exactly
monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah, they're so impressionable, and us
yeah.
as a human race, we're very impressionable, and so that's one of the other reasons why I think it works, because then you have parents who are feeling guilt about this kind of shit, and they think that Okay, well, Johnny says he's a woman, so I guess we'll just lean into it because I don't know what else to do. And if I don't do it, our neighbors are going to hate us and blah, 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 or the school's going to knock down our door.
We're going to get canceled.
Exactly. And so everybody's so afraid to, whatever, that stand up for themselves, I think, in these sorts of ways and actually go with their instinct, that this is what kind of starts happening. So,
yeah, big topic.
Big topic, yeah.
Okay. Do. Let's see here. Oh, dude, I mean, there's also stuff like freaking petroleum products and just like how how they're physically changing because of what we're being exposed to. Blue light, technology, so it's a multifaceted sort of thing. So I don't want to short sell it and be like, that's just the answer, duh, sort of thing. It's just like, no, there's many angles going on here, yeah, so that's all I'll just say
right.
about that.
And I also think I said it while Mario was going to the bathroom, but kind of to what you were saying, I think that ultimately at the end of the day, there's trauma involved with this stuff. And I think that that's always something that I always kind of look back on. If are those sorts of things being explored before these extreme measures are taken to, change one's gender or something like that.
Also, too, I mean, I just heard a story, not just, but like a couple months ago, and it was a guy who was depressed. He was depressed. He was, I think, maybe in his late teens, early 20s. So he was fairly young, really young, and he went to some therapists, and it was like some state whatever supplied therapist. So he just went through the yellow pages. I don't even know, but he went through either his school or something. It was very much he needed assistance, right? And so he went through some channel that a lot of people go to in order to get their mental health situation in order. And the therapist he was assigned basically literally said, oh, all your problems, you're just you're suppressing the fact that you want to be a woman. And then so the therapist convinced him to start the process. And he said literally within a week, because she gave him the right phone numbers and everything else. And I think this was in LA or San Francisco or something like that, but a big city. And he said within a week, he was already taking pills.
Wow.
That the process had already started, that he went in because he just wasn't, right. He was depressed and he left, or literally a week later, he was already on that trajectory. And then he said it took him years to finally come out with the fact that he never wanted to do it to begin with.
Wow.
But this was after a lot of shit that he had already done to himself.
Right.
So it's people are kind of saying that, hey, this is the answer.
Right. And again, as we were talking about, realizing that the external solutions they're more Band-Aid solutions, and so, yeah.
Right.
That's what allopathic minded medicine will do. And that's what most of these, people who are in the school systems and stuff, how they're trained. So you're going to get what they portray.
Yep. So
It scared me.
Oh, you're good. We have one more topic that we want to talk about.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's that time, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yes.
So thank you guys once again for hanging with us. But we thought a cool new segment to everything would be to do a shout out that we both agree with, someone that we both support, someone that is maybe near and dear to us. We like what they're doing. And the shout out that we have for today is for someone actually that you're going to be interviewing here pretty soon. Yeah.
So the shout out tonight is our friend Christy. And she owns a shop called Invoke. And I'm interviewing her this coming Tuesday on the Healing Home. But, it just kind of so happened that Mario brought the idea up of adding this segment to the show, of doing a shout out. And as he said that, the person that popped in my mind was Christy. And right after it popped in my mind, Mario said, I think we should do Christy. I was like, Dude, that's awesome. Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. So,
Right.
yeah, this is a great new segment, I think.
Totally. So I just posted her link in the chat, by the way. But if you guys are interested in what she's doing, invokeonline.com is where you can
Yes.
find her.
Yep.
And man, I just have to say, one of the coolest things is that we know her because her shop opened up in the old neighborhood that we used to live at.
Yeah.
So we lived in Portland. We were living in a small apartment, a studio apartment for a little while together. And we knew that we were going to get out of that apartment. But one of our friends had a place that she owned, and she opened up the possibility of us living there. And to be honest, it wasn't exactly where we wanted to live. There's a few things that we had to compromise on. But overall, we thought that it was a good fit still.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we lived there. And there's a little sort of, I don't even know, like it's just a little neighborhood that has kind of like its own little town center sort of thing.
Yeah, it's just like shops
Right.
but it's just a small strip, just a strip, a handful of blocks of businesses.
Businesses, bars, restaurants. There's a little movie theater.
Yep.
Things like that.
Yeah,
but,
it's a nice area.
Yeah, bike shops, stuff like that. And anyways, shortly after we moved in, this place called Invoke opened up.
Right.
And I was like, okay, cool. And then so we went to Invoke one day. I can't remember the first time. Maybe you do. But I
remember.
And I was like, oh, fuck. I'm like, dude, they actually have like occult literature. They've got tarot cards. They've got crystals. And it was really cool. And I was like, oh, shit.
And the shop was beautiful. Like, Christy has really great taste in so many things. And so, just walking in there, it was like, whoa, whoever's shop this is knows what's up on a lot of levels. And it was really cool. And we kind of were like, whoa. Because I remember they did like, we went out to dinner with some friends and we were walking past it because we were like, oh, yeah, we saw a sign for this shop. And it says it's called Invoke, but it's not open yet. And we happened to walk past it after dinner and they were open, but they were like, I don't know if they were doing like a soft open or something like that, but we ended up going in that night and kind of found out more. And yeah, it was literally kind of like a portal for us.
Oh, yeah, it
in
was.
a big way. And so, yeah, we slowly got to know Christy. Mario started going in there more regularly, started getting to know her a lot more. And then I would go in with him. And then we were just like, wow, Christy is seriously next level and a really great person. And she just slowly like became a friend.
Did the Red Pill gatherings, were they in the neighborhood before we moved in too, by the way, or no?
I think so. I think it like lined up where it was like, oh, and then Red Pill happens right down the street.
So there was this awesome group of people that would just talk shop about current events, conspiracies, health, wellness stuff, alternative information. And it was also in the neighborhood too.
Right.
I mean, it's just, to me, the synchronicity of Invoke and the gatherings being in the same little area of town, and that we could literally walk there or ride our bikes there really easily, was insane. And so I remember going to Invoke before going to the gatherings and, just being stoked. I'm like, oh my God, I just picked up an awesome new book on the way to hanging out with my friends. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the most appealing things to me about Christy and her offerings, is that she likes buying used books. She's got plenty of new books as well, but it made it exciting to go in there and be like, oh, well, what did someone just sell her? And there's a few times where we would talk to somebody like, and I'd be like, oh yeah, well, I just picked up this from Christy or whatever. And then the person being like, oh, I just sold her that.
Right.
So you just bought the copy of the book. And like, this is like esoteric sort of stuff, and you just bought it because I just sold it to her like on Friday or whatever. And I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense because I bought it on Saturday or Sunday or something.
Right.
And so she just has opened up like a whole like floodgate worth of information, because she's been one of the most supportive people along my path. She has said, hey, have you read this book? Hey, do you want to borrow this book? Hey, let me ship this book to you because you should absolutely check it out. Hey, I just bought this book. What do you think? Oh my God, I need to read that, and letting me borrow it. Like rare stuff, obscure stuff. Because she is who she is, she's always bringing books into her field and then kind of sending them out. sort of thing. So she's exposed me to so much stuff that I'm like forever grateful for that. And she's also skeptical. And she also just is one of these people where she's just like, no, man, I'm not going along with that. This doesn't make sense. I'm not interested. So when I found out that you were going to interview her pretty soon, I mean, obviously I knew that you were going to reach out and stuff like that. And you guys had been talking about it, for a while. I was like, oh yeah, this is awesome, because I fully support her in just her efforts and what she's interested in. And she's always just been there asking really, really good questions too. That's the other thing I like about her, is that she'll ask questions that I'm like, I've never fucking considered that before in my life. But maybe you're right.
Yeah.
There might be something, to all of this or whatever. And so just overall, I just can't say enough good things about her, honestly.
Yeah, no.
And a lot of people feel the same way. People who know her feel the same way about her.
Yeah, they do. And, for me too, it was like, she was one of the first people to allow me to host classes at her shop, So I taught a few classes at her shop. And actually her shop, the last class I taught in the public was my mugwort class, and it was at Christie's shop. And that was like the last event before the big shutdown of 2020. Because it was like March, I just remember it was March 18th. And then it was like literally that following Monday, like everything closed down.
Right.
And it was just really one of those kind of weavy things for me where I was like, whoa, dude. And the class was sold out, and like she added chairs, and like she added people on at the last minute. So it was like there was all that momentum, and she just really helped to inspire a lot of stuff with so many things. And so, yeah. Very grateful for her.
Oh my gosh.
So
yeah. I feel like there's we could say a lot more.
I was going to say,
about our time with her, different things that we've done with her,
right?
Her perspective on certain things, but you guys will get into it on Tuesday.
Yeah, we're going to talk on Tuesday. So if you guys want to learn more about Christy and her story and what she's up to right now and all that, and check out her shop too, because if you're even looking for little things, decor and stuff for your house, she does sell and ship stuff online, and then she can ship stuff to you as well.
Totally.
So.
I like this. I love this, actually. Moonlander saying, lol, I was one of those people. I bought a remote viewing book from Christy that Mario had just sold to her.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Yeah, dude. So, by the way, Dave and I, we're going to do a show on tarot.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, because, dude, he sends me emails about tarot stuff that I talk about, and it's always interesting and relevant, and he knows his shit with tarot and all of that. So I'm just like, dude, you should just come on and we should just talk about some of this stuff.
Dave.
Hell yeah.
Nice. That's really cool. I'm glad to hear that.
So I think that's awesome. So what's up, dude? Once again. And yeah, that's hilarious. Nice. Cool. Alrighty. So once again, Invoke. I just want to make sure I have it right, but it's invokeonline.com. It did change. She has all sorts of things that you can buy online. Really, really just appreciate her as we've kind of been going on about. And if you guys want, I would say one of her hubs has been Instagram. And so I will link to her Instagram too. It's Invoke PDX. So the PDX stands for Portland. But I was just so excited, man, when I started getting to know her and was just having a shop like that in the neighborhood. Whoa. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, she's a good one, and love her very much. And yeah.
Totally. Alrighty. Well, with all of that said, guys, we're going to land this plane here, and we're going to do that with some end credits as per usual. So I think there we go.
Yep.
If you guys want to support the channel, patreon.com/thehealinghome is a great way to do it. You support Michelle, you're supporting me. If you support me, you're supporting Michelle.
That's right.
That's just how it works.
Yep.
So patreon.com/thehealinghome. Thanks again to all the patrons who are currently signed up. You guys are awesome. As we just mentioned, Christy from Invoke next week on Tuesday, 4 p.m. Standard Time.
Yep.
So there you go. Very much looking forward to that one. And if you guys aren't yet subscribed to Michelle's newsletter, you really should.
Yeah, sign on up. You can do that for free. My website comes out once a month on the full moon. So this next issue is coming out on June 3rd. And it's going to be a good one. So go to the website and you can sign up there. Current full moon offering right now is my CBD cannabis root and white willow bark salve. So tried and true salve, lovely salve. So many people love it. I love it. It's helped a lot of folks over the years. And so it's a great one. If you want to try that, you can email me and we can go from there. And also up on the screen is my current menu right now of what I have. So also just want to remind people I do custom bulk orders of things like salves or perhaps soap. What else? Oh, there's so many things. Tinctures. So if you are wanting something in a bigger batch, just reach out and ask me and we can work something out.
Definitely. And then the cool thing about that is people can customize the order if they want to.
Yeah, depending on what it is.
Yeah,
totally.
So
definitely.
Anyways, just saying that it's a good way to go depending on what you're wanting.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Nice. Awesome deal. And so if you guys are interested in anything we just mentioned, michelleshealinghome@gmail.com. All of her orders, you have to actually get a hold of Michelle. So that's how we roll. That's kind of what we like doing. So we don't, there's no other employees. There's no like shopping cart sort of feature or anything like that.
Yeah, no, I'm the cart and the horse and the
That's
everything.
True. That's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So michelleshealinghome.com, or you can text or call her at 503-568-1563 for consultations or questions about ordering, anything like that. And then snail mail. So P.O. Box 930, Carson, Washington 98610.
Did you check it today?
I did check it today.
Okay.
Nada.
Junk mail? Okay.
Yeah, lots of junk mail.
That's okay.
So one of these days, someone's going to be inspired to send something to our P.O. Box. So feel free if you are that person. And then as far as my stuff is concerned, symbolicstudies.com is where you can find basically everything. I've got prints. I do tarot readings and study sessions / lessons. I'm available for graphic design work, which has been coming through. You guys are freaking awesome. I'm so stoked to be working with some of you. You know who you are. And if you're interested in anything that I have, you can reach me through the site, or you can just text me 503-893-4606. So Ben is asking, what's the protocol for tarot reads? The protocol would be just to get a hold of me. I know I saw your order come through on Etsy. Also, I have things on Etsy, like prints, and I have some of my tarot reading stuff available on Etsy. So I'm not sure if you're referring to protocol, like what's the first step or whatever, but generally just getting a hold of me and we can kind of go from there. But I will be in touch regarding your order here very, very soon. And then I also did a live stream last night, which I mentioned, with Juan Ayala from the Juan on Juan podcast about the tunnels of Set. And so it's a very interesting topic. I'm probably going to do a solo show about it at some point, I would say.
Yeah, you should.
But I think we had a good conversation, and that's not the last conversation that we're going to have about it, I don't think. I just don't think it's going to be on YouTube because some of the material is just a little too graphic and all of that. But it's I don't know. It's the rabbit hole I've been reading about for a little while, and I got lots of juicy information symbolically and mythologically from it. So I think it was really well worth it.
Yeah.
So some of that stuff is definitely part of the stream that we had there together. Nice. Cool, guys. I think that's going to do it. Right on, Binna. I see your email for sure. Exactly. So I'll be touching base with you 100% about that. And let me get rid of this here. No longer needed. Hello, hello. Here we are once again. Any final thoughts, Bub, or you good to go?
I think this was a really good weave. This was a really nice one. I think they just keep getting better and better as we are, continue to do the show and challenge ourselves each week to
totally
come up with topics and all of it. So
right.
As always, very grateful for you. And the fact that we can do this together is really awesome.
I know, it's fun.
Yeah.
Right.
And a lot of people are loving it, so it's good.
Nice. I love you.
Thank you.
So those are my final words.
Love you too. All right.
All right, guys. Until next time.
Good night.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.